Imagine this, it's 2 in the morning, and you hear loud pounding on your door. You peek outside and see a girl in pajamas knocking on your neighbor's door, banging like the FBI with a warrant, and you're wondering what the hell is going on. She's climbing on the door the same way my ex used to climb on me, and even her teeth look like my ex's, yikes. And this moron's first thought, crazy stalker has to be. So he panic texts Sister Red telling her not to come home, except the reply comes back instantly and it says she's already home. And the thing outside her door is not human. Sister Red, who I need to mention is devastatingly pretty even while having a complete breakdown, now has a ghost grinning at her door like it just found its favorite meal, screaming that she knows Red is in there ripping at the doorframe, and Red is crumpled against the wall barely able to breathe. While this nightmare smashes harder and harder demanding entry, Red manages to text one last thing. She saw its face. A blood-soaked girl with a smile that does not stop. The name? Lee Yewu. And that rings every alarm bell in his head. Because outside, the ghost just ripped a chunk of the building apart, claws painting everything crimson. Those heart pajamas drenched Red from the knees down, and she's cackling, still demanding to be let inside. That's when it clicks. Yewu was the victim of the biggest murder case in the city last year, and her spirit clearly never got the memo about resting in peace. Because 1 year ago in this exact hallway, a terrified girl was cornered screaming for someone to stay away. Some degenerate calling himself the little tyrant of Jiangbei groped her twice and got mad when she scratched him, so he pulled a knife because his ego was made of wet tissue paper. Yewu was pounding on every single door begging someone to save her, and he tore into her before a single one opened, launched her through the air like she weighed nothing, slammed her head for daring to fight back, ragdolled her across the floor like a monster wearing human skin, then screamed at every neighbor that he'd gut anyone who stepped outside, so nobody opened their door. And this waste of oxygen kept going. She bled on that floor begging for help that never came. And this piece of garbage told her to just die, buried the blade in her one final time, then strolled off laughing, called the cops on himself, claimed self-defense for a few days in custody. But then something happened that nobody could explain. 7 days later, the bully dropped dead in his cell, killed the exact same way Yewu was, and I felt absolutely nothing. Now the ghost is back, grabbing the door handle, whispering she'll let herself in. Dark energy slithering through every crack in the frame. The lock gives up like it was never there, and those red eyes fill the doorway. Our boy hears the click and his blood freezes because Sister Red's door just opened. He jumps up and drops his phone like the coordinated genius he is. And that tiny sound, the ghost heard it. She snaps her attention toward him in full demonic fury, crawling toward his apartment on all fours like something out of a horror game, scaling the wall to reach his door because gravity apparently means nothing to dead people. Now she's slamming both fists against his door, demanding he open up. Her eye presses against the peephole and she whispers, "I see you." And this fool finally realizes the ghost switched targets to him. Something crashes through and barely misses his head, so he grabs the first thing within reach, a wooden baseball bat, and starts screaming about yang energy protecting him like a superstitious grandma at a temple. Backed into a corner, bat raised, running on pure copium, when a red screen pops up out of nowhere. Ghost detected. Demon transformation system online. 100 free ghost chi points and a gacha draw? This idiot's been waiting 10 years for his chi code to arrive. The system asks if he wants to burn everything on one demon transformation card to fight the ghost. Meanwhile, his door has about 3 heartbeats before it becomes sawdust. He smashes yes because the alternative is becoming a ghost himself. The draw starts loading and he's staring at it with his entire life on the line. He yanks the lever on what looks like a supernatural slot machine. First reel clicks into place. Second reel locks. All 3 match. This man just hit jackpot on a demon gacha while a ghost is breaking down his door, and he erupts in flames with some kind of fire demon wrapping around his entire body. A full elemental spirit materializes above him like a raid boss spawning in his living room. He stares at the card and it's a fire deity that has no business being a first pull. The system asks if he wants to use it right now, and honestly, who wouldn't? But then the knocking stops and the system is literally begging him to focus. He saves the card and gets this grin on his face that screams, "I have the worst idea imaginable." Meanwhile, Sister Red is curled up in thigh-highs behind her couch and my priorities are conflicted, but we move. Her apartment sounds like a war zone, because the ghost just kicked through whatever barricade she had left. A massive hand reaches through the gap whispering about how much pain she's in, those claws hovering inches from Red's face, and this is genuinely terrifying. Playing the sad victim while looking like she chews on nightmares for breakfast. And then this absolute madman opens his door and says, "Good morning, beautiful," starts beckoning the ghost over like, "Come and catch me, darling." She charges in and he slams the door shut behind her, and the ghost screams about the disrespect of having a door closed on her face. She's threatening to cave his skull in while he just mutters, "So annoying," then opens the door back up and goes, "Welcome inside," like he's running a bed and breakfast for the undead. Because this clown figured out the cheat code. Every time the ghost feels any emotion, his system siphons ghost ki from it like a spiritual pickpocket. So he grabs the vengeful spirit and goes, "You're welcome." Starts dragging her around the apartment, inviting her to the bathroom, and the ghost chi is stacking like a speedrun. Yewu is ready to erase him from the mortal plane, until he tells her to turn around and look behind her. She catches her own reflection in the mirror, and the face she sees shatters her entire worldview. A vengeful ghost that terrorized the whole building just screamed because she saw a ghost. That might be the greatest irony in manhwa history. Then out of nowhere, the mood goes full romance anime, flowers everywhere, and Yewu in soft lighting might be the prettiest ghost to ever exist. She buries herself into him crying about how scared she is, and honestly, protect her at all costs. He grabs her hand and says, "Don't be afraid," then throws her on his back and promises to lead her away from the scary ghost. which is literally her. This man just domesticated a vengeful spirit in one night, and I need the next episode immediately. So this lunatic actually brought Yiwoo to the rooftop, and he's sneaking glances at her while secretly scheming something because of course he is. Then with hearts literally floating around them, he tells her, "You go first." And Yiwoo, full terrifying ghost face out, screams, "No, let's go together," like a clingy girlfriend from the underworld. Meanwhile, the system is feasting because her heart is racing, and that's another 20 ghost key in the bank. This absolute con artist pats her head and says brother will stay behind and block the evil ghost in the mirror for you. And she looks up at him with those demon eyes, blushing like he just proposed to her. Before she can even process it, he shoves her away, yelling, "Don't say anything, just go." Yiwoo's brain is buffering so hard question marks are literally spawning around her skull because this fool just yeeted himself off the building. He lands on his feet like a stray cat, and the system pops another 30 ghost chi for successfully deceiving her. But here's the thing about tricking a vengeful spirit off a 12-story building. She doesn't die, she just gets really angry. Yiwoo crawling out of a demolished car looking like she fell straight from purgatory, and that one glowing red eye locking onto him says everything words don't need to. She erupts like a supernatural volcano, screaming she will not let him die peacefully. Xiaohun scratches his head like he just forgot to turn off the stove and goes, "Guess I need the demon transformation card after all." So he pulls out the mighty commander card, a whole armored tiger general, and decides it's time to go all in. A fire dragon manifests behind him like he just activated a cheat code in a boss fight. The system explains it lets him absorb partial monster power and randomly draw a supernatural ability. And the transformation hits him like getting hit by a truck that's also on fire because this idiot is screaming his entire soul out. The fine print says he keeps 10% of the monster's body and power permanently with a 1% shot inheriting an ability. His whole body is wreathed in flame and his hand is radiating pure destruction. 1% chance. Keep that number in your head, because this man's eye just turned reptilian green and caught fire at the same time. And the system drops Roar of the Blue Tiger into his inventory like a legendary weapon from a gacha pull. Yiwoo tries to fight back, but the sheer wave of energy swallows her whole. He brings down a fist like he's trying to dent the planet, and the ground cracks open beneath his grip like wet paper. Yiwoo eats concrete face first, and she is not taking it well. And there he is, standing over her, grinning. She's clinging to the edge of the building with her claws, screaming, "You bastard," and honestly, fair enough. This clown looks down and goes, "Oh great, you're alive. My bad, I forgot this was the 12th floor." Then immediately offers to pull her up with the most untrustworthy grin in Manhwa history. And Yiwoo takes the bait with that demonic smile because she's planning to drag him down with her. Except he already knew that because he grabs her hand and announces he's going to give her the full 12th floor experience instead. Their hands lock together, ghost claws against human fingers, and the power struggle begins. Yiwoo's hand starts sizzling on contact and she's shrieking to let her go, because his yang energy is literally cooking her. Another 10 ghost chi deposited directly into his spiritual bank account from the burn damage alone. Now hold on, because the scene cuts to someone grabbing Sister Red's wrist on what looks like her bed, and my brain short-circuited for a second. This fool is hugging Sister Red from behind in her cute little pajamas, whispering, "How could I ever let you go?" and I am violently jealous. But wait, that's not romance. He just landed on the side of the building carrying her. He's carrying Sister Red bridal style through lightning and rain, like some kind of supernatural taxi service. Looks at her with the softest expression and whispers, "My dear." Then immediately launches a pillar of fire straight up the building, screaming, "Die at Yiwoo," and the mood whiplash nearly broke my neck. He smirks and admits, yeah, throwing her won't actually kill her. So this time he's going in with absolutely no restraint, and the transformation is in full swing. The tiger spirit materializes and catches Yiwoo midair like she's a chew toy. And the impact craters the earth with golden rings of destruction radiating outward, standing in the smoke with golden eyes and flames peeling off his body. This is not the same college student from 20 minutes ago. Yiwoo is pinned inside some kind of dark crystal prison, leaking green energy and begging him to save her because it hurts. Up close, she's screaming, "Save me," through a face that's barely holding together. And Xiaokan just stares at the green energy gathering in his palm with absolutely zero sympathy on his face. His eyes go full predator mode as the green power floods through him. And he unleashes everything in one single roar that swallows the entire block in green flame. The blast creates a crater the size of a swimming pool with green fire licking every edge. And the system confirms it. The door-knocking ghost is dead. Ghost chi plus 99. This degenerate immediately starts doing math. 110 plus 99 means 2 draws, and he's grinning about profit margins like a spiritual stockbroker. But then he looks down at his feet and realizes he just blew a hole in the ground the size of an apartment and wonders if maybe someone noticed, then shrugs it off because nobody saw it, and after all he's just an ordinary college student standing in a crater surrounded by green fire. He heads back through the building hallway looking like he just took a casual evening stroll and not like he terraformed the parking lot. But something nags at him. The system labeled Yiwoo as an evil ghost. If that was the ranking, what could possibly be worse? He tables it for now and heads back to the apartment in the rain. And the first thing he hears coming through the door is crying. Sister Red is sobbing because she thinks he's dead, calling him foolish for jumping from that height and looking absolutely wrecked. Until this fool casually walks in and goes, "Don't worry, the ghost is handled like he just took out the trash." And Sister Red, who is unfairly gorgeous even while crying, asks him if he's human or a ghost because she genuinely cannot tell. He just smiles and says, "Of course I'm human," like that answers anything. And she throws herself into his arms, and every man watching this just felt his soul leave his body from pure jealousy. She's crying into his shoulders saying she's so glad he's okay, and I would genuinely commit crimes to be in his position right now. And this moron is blushing like he just discovered what physical contact with a woman feels like for the first time. Then he asks her for a favor, and the way he says it is suspicious but will allow it. Sister Red, looking like an absolute weapon of mass distraction, says she'll do anything for him as gratitude for saving her life. She said anything, and this man has the restraint of a monk because all he asks for is for her to keep quiet about him killing the ghost. That's it. That is the most tragic waste of an anything card in recorded history. Sister Red winks at him and promises she understands because experts like him avoid worldly attention, and she will not survive long in my head looking like that. Now she's changed into a low-cut black dress and announces she's getting him a gift, and the artist chose violence with this outfit. She bends over to search through her stuff in fishnets, and I need the medical team on standby for the audience right now. She pulls out a property deed with the smedgiest little smile and says found it, and just hands Yashan an entire property like it's a birthday card. He tries to refuse because she depends on the rental income and he's not trying to bankrupt the woman who just hugged him. But Sister Red fans out a whole stack of property deeds like playing cards and tells him to pick whichever one he likes, and Xiaokan's eyes turn into literal money symbols because this woman is loaded. In his mind, she's sitting on a golden throne in fishnets surrounded by treasure, asking if he wants to retire early, and I need whatever life he's living. He accepts the deed, obviously. Later that night, he's on his bed with the deed beside him, laptop open, and finally thinking about what comes next. Because based on the news and what just happened tonight, he knows more ghosts are coming and they'll be worse. The demon transformation already wore off. He kept 10% of the physical power but missed the 1% divine ability lottery, and the silhouettes of what's waiting for him look like a whole roster of nightmare fuel that makes Yiwu seem like a warm-up round. Something grotesque and covered in blisters is already creeping across the floor somewhere in this city, so he starts researching homicide cases in Zhangbei City because if ghosts are born from murder, then the news is basically a spawn tracker. And what pops up is a disfigurement murder case. 3 victims, all found with their faces destroyed. Bodies dumped at staircases and on the street like they were garbage. Every single victim's face was carved off, meaning whatever ghost this creates is going to have a very specific obsession and a very personal grudge. So this ghost is basically the face-stealing cousin of the knocking ghost, except instead of doors it's obsessed with ripping people's faces clean off. And this fool pulls up the map and realizes the murder locations are practically next door to his campus on Tianfu Road. So he slams the laptop shut because apparently sleep is optional when you're hunting nightmares, and starts thinking he can't just sit around waiting for this thing to find him first. Because this maniac decides he's going to hunt the ghost himself, and the green demonic eye says everything about his mental state right now. Fast forward to the next morning at Zhangbei University where our resident ghost exterminator pretends to be a normal college student. And immediately the camera gives us a group of girls talking about last night's bar trip, with the kind of framing that tells me the artist has zero subtlety, and honestly I respect that. The camera angle on their legs as they walk to class is doing things to this narrative that I refuse to apologize for. And Zhang Chen is walking behind them with the most shameless grin while his chibi self has literal heart eyes because even ghost hunters have priorities. Until someone calls his name from down the hallway and snaps him out of his degeneracy. He turns around confused like a man who just got caught doing something he shouldn't, and standing right there are 2 new characters who just obliterated my ability to focus on the plot. Yang Chan with the ice-cold ponytail energy, and Lin Yue with pink hair and purple eyes that are making me reconsider my entire life. Meanwhile, every single dude in the building is staring through the window like a pack of wolves, who just spotted a steak dinner. Because apparently Yue and Yang Chan are the campus goddesses, and Jiang Chen being childhood friends with Yue is the kind of intel that makes every man in this school want to commit a crime. And this adorable pink-haired menace pulls out a glowing talisman saying her mom got it from a Taoist temple. She hands it to him, their fingers touching as the talisman glows between them, and tells him to keep it close and never take it off. But Jiang Chen holds it up to his face and immediately notices his demonic energy going haywire because this is not some cheap temple souvenir. Yue starts passionately lecturing him about staying inside because of all the brutal cases happening lately, and she is genuinely adorable while being terrified for his safety. Which is when Yang Chan grabs her from behind like a handler retrieving a loose asset and goes way, and drags her away yelling don't go out at night, while Jiang Chen just stands there processing what exactly his childhood friend knows that she shouldn't. Because this fool just realized Yue knows about the ghost incidents, and that raises about 50 questions he didn't have 2 minutes ago. Meanwhile, the girls are catching their breath around the corner, and Yue is wheezing about nearly getting scared to death by the sudden extraction. And Yang Chan goes absolutely nuclear because apparently giving that talisman to a normie violates the strict rules of something called the Tao Alliance and the Underworld. But Yue hits her with the most innocent pout in recorded history and says she just gave him a talisman, she didn't say much, and that face could get away with murder. Yang Chan is not having it though, flicking her forehead and reminding her that Jiang Chan is just a regular guy who would straight up die if a ghost looked at him wrong, and their families aren't even in the same zip code socially. And Yue gets all shy saying she only treats him as an ordinary friend while looking like the least convincing liar on campus. Yang Chan holds up the talisman receipt like courtroom evidence and screams that an ordinary friend does not hand out a town evil talisman worth 2 million on the black market. But Yue's eyes go dead serious, and she drops the bomb that saving his life isn't a big deal compared to what she owes him. Because in a flashback we see little Yue being snatched up by some creep while baby Jiang Chen charged in to save her, and she says without him she'd have been trafficked to some mountain village. Back in the present, Jiang Chen is staring at the talisman realizing there are actual organized forces forces in this world, dealing with supernatural threats, and he's been out here freelancing like an amateur. So he tucks it into his pocket like a $2 million insurance policy he got for free, and walks off connecting the dots, because if the supernatural world is being kept secret from the public, then whatever the system told him lines up perfectly. The food chain is simple. Demons eat ghost energy, ghosts eat human energy, and Jiang Chen is technically playing both sides of that menu. Then a door creaks open behind him and this boy nearly jumps out of his skin because apparently ghost hunters still get spooked by loud hinges, and his boys crash through the door screaming about how he got pulled aside by the campus goddess for a private conversation and didn't invite them, demanding execution by firing squad for prioritizing romance over friendship. Until a fist slams a desk and a new character walks in, young Master Zheng Xiaoming from the Zheng group, and every single person in this room shuts up immediately. Like literally every single one of these boys covers their mouth simultaneously because rich kid energy just walked into the building. This trust fund kid sizes Jiang Chen up and down, noting how tall he is and casually dropping that his wealthy family must feed him well. Then Xiaoming drops that his family is having a gathering in a few days. Yue will be there and asks if Jiang Chen wants to come. Keep your eye on this invitation. And Jiang Chen just looks at him and goes boring. Like he didn't just get invited to a rich family's private event by a guy who could buy the entire campus. So Xiaoming gets petty about it real fast, mocking him for having to work study after school like that's supposed to be an insult. But Jiang Chen fires back without even looking at him, asking who's like young Master Zheng where you just whine and daddy refills your wallet. And Xiaoming absolutely loses it, cursing his name while two of his goons step up behind Jiang Chen like this is about to become a problem. Jiang Chen strolls right toward them through the desks with the confidence of a man who has literally punched ghosts in the face before, and calls Xiaoming's lackeys bootlickers to their face, noting how fast they came running when their sugar daddy whistled. These two clowns step up asking if he knows who he just provoked, like that line has ever worked in the history of anything, and Jiang Chen just looks up at them from between their shoulders with the most unimpressed expression a human being has ever produced. The tension between him and Xiaoming could cut through concrete right now because neither of these two is backing down, and Jiang Chen tells them straight up, if someone offends him, he'll return the favor tenfold, and if they end up crying about it later, that's a them problem. Except right after that hard line he starts coughing, because his body is still recovering from fighting actual supernatural entities and his trash talk just bounced off his own lungs. Before anything can pop off, the professor walks in and announces that Xiaoming's dad is sponsoring the entire class for a 2-day all-expenses-paid trip to the Zheng family mansion, and the whole class immediately flips from fight mode to vacation mode, cheering long live young Master Zheng, because money makes loyalty move real fast. But Jiang Chen is not celebrating because something about a local tyrant inviting an entire class to his private estate feels like the beginning of a horror movie, and this fool already knows what those look like. Instead of celebrating that free vacation like everyone else, this fool hits the streets after dark looking for trouble in the grimiest part of town, stepping over debris like it owes him money. Tianfu Road, the kind of neighborhood where even the streetlights look like they're thinking about leaving, and the first thing this nerd does is pull up his status screen like he's checking his character sheet before a boss fight. Ghost Chi sitting at 9 2 1-star demon transformation cards, Red Python Spirit and Evil King, and that loadout is looking thinner than his chances tonight. Even he looks annoyed at his own stats, and he built this account from scratch. He finds some rundown apartment building and a very sweaty resident pops out from behind a window asking who he's looking for. Jiang Chen flashes his friendliest grin and asks which unit Zhang Mimei lives in, and this man reacts like Jiang Chen just said the name of the actual devil, screams at him to leave and shuts everything so fast you'd think Jiang Chen pulled out a weapon. Nobody has a meltdown that severe over a normal neighbor's name, so whatever Zhang Mimei is, this whole area knows and nobody wants to talk. The streets are completely deserted, not a single person in sight, and for a residential area that's about as natural as a fish climbing a tree. Then he catches the stink of disinfectant pouring out of one of the buildings, and of course this maniac follows it. Every step down this dark hallway echoes through the silence like a heartbeat counting down to something awful. Unit 101. Cracked walls, no welcome mat, zero good vibes, and behind the metal gate there's a little girl just sitting in the dark eating noodles while staring out into the empty hallway like that's a perfectly normal dinner arrangement. Jiang Chen leans down and asks her why she's watching the hallway while she eats, and this child goes absolutely ballistic, screaming that he scared her friend away, except the entire background turns blood red, and her one visible eye is telling a very different story from her mouth. Jiang Chen pauses. Her friend? Because the hallway is completely empty, and she's insisting something was standing right there before he walked up. Then the camera zooms in on noodles dangling from a mouth in the darkness, and this dinner scene just became a full-on horror scene. Even Jiang Chen has to swallow hard because whatever that little girl's dinner guest was, it wasn't paying rent in this building. Her dad comes shuffling in asking who Yao Yao is talking to, and this entire family unit needs a welfare check from both the police and the Supernatural Bureau. Then a woman from another unit presses her face against the security bars with this ice-cold blue glow around her, demanding to know what he's doing in the building at this hour. So he asks if she knows a neighbor named Zhang Mimei, and watch her face collapse from hostile into pure terror as she begs him to just leave immediately. Jiang Chen thinks these people are just unfriendly when in reality every single one of them is trying to stop him from getting himself killed. He decides to try the upper floors, and behind him the woman is white-knuckling those bars like she's watching someone walk into a meat grinder. She calls out to him one last time, and drops the most bone-chilling warning in this entire story. If someone in the hallway asks you, "Am I beautiful?" don't answer, don't think, just run. But Jiang Chen, whose survival instincts have been offline since episode 1, turns around and goes, "Why would I run? Because if you say she's not beautiful, this ghost will carve you apart like a Thanksgiving turkey with a grudge." And the flash of what that carnage looks like is enough to make any sane person evacuate the building, the block, and possibly the country. So what does this certified psychopath do? He smirks and asks what happens if he compliments her instead. Would you have the guts to try that, or would you just run? And somewhere in the darkness of this building, something smiles back. The woman tells him the ghost will redesign his entire face to match hers, which is hands down the most terrifying makeover package in existence. But Jiang Chen finds this fascinating, wondering out loud if all ghosts have trigger conditions like he's mapping out a skill tree in a horror RPG. Ghost energy starts bleeding in from every direction, and this fool's curiosity is going up, not down. So he sprints upstairs toward the source because his brain is wired in reverse and danger is his love language. And the thing waiting up there is wearing a face that has no business existing, a rotting skin mask with too many holes where eyes should be and teeth coming out of the wrong places. Jiang Chen nearly collides with it and has to dodge because even someone who picks fights with the dead was not ready for that level of ugly. The ghost slams into the ground and starts whining about how cold it is, which is genuinely the most relatable thing a corpse has said in this story. But before he can even process that encounter, something comes dropping from the ceiling directly on top of him. A whole person lands on him and they both crash to the floor in a tangle of limbs and confusion. His shoulder takes the full impact and it is screaming at him about it. Then we get the close-up and hold on because this girl has the bluest eyes I have ever seen. Dark hair framing her face, battle scratches across her cheek, and she is way too fine to be dropping from ceilings in haunted apartment buildings. They're both staring at each other in total disbelief, and she whispers a living person like he's the weirdest thing she's found in this ghost-infested building. Before Jiang Chen can even open his mouth, she snatches his wrist like she owns it, and takes off at full speed, dragging him behind her, yelling, "Come with me." And this idiot who punches ghosts for fun is now being rescued by a girl he just met, and she did not ask for consent. He tries to ask what she's doing, and genuinely fair question since he was handling things on his own just fine. She fires back that if he wants to stay alive he should stop asking questions, and the raw authority in this girl's voice is doing things to me. Then she blows right past the safe exit and yanks him toward a utility shaft, and Jiang Chen rightfully wants to know why they're ignoring the door that literally says safe on it. She explains this spot is better concealed because if the ghost cuts off the main exit they're both dead, and the way she says it tells me she has survived this exact scenario before. He opens his mouth to ask one more thing and she shuts him down so hard the ghost probably felt it, and honestly between her and the slit-mouthed spirit. So this fool finally listens to someone for once in his life and watches as Chen Shui starts forming a hand seal with literal fire pouring between her fingers. She slaps a talisman onto the wall and the whole thing ignites with golden energy like she just activated a cheat code. And this girl is chanting about divine concealment from an upper exorcist with the kind of intensity that says she has done this more times than anyone should have to. She fires off another talisman and the thing burns mid-air like a spiritual grenade. The concealment wraps around both of them and suddenly Jiang Chen is pressed up against this girl in a very tight space with fire-charged talismans sealing them in. And just like that they vanish behind the barrier, nothing visible but the talisman quietly burning on the wall like a nightlight in the worst bedroom imaginable. Chen Su whispers that this talisman only hides their living energy, so if he makes a single sound they are both finished. Then footsteps echo down the corridor outside, slow and deliberate, getting closer with every beat. Laughter spills through the hallway, bouncing off newspaper-covered walls with that sickly green glow that makes everything look like a crime scene waiting to happen. Something grabs the corridor wall and starts cracking through it like the building itself is just an inconvenience. And there she is, the slit-mouthed ghost herself, standing over a body in the hallway demanding someone speak up and tell her if she's beautiful. The person on the ground barely gets a word out before red paints the walls, and that question gets answered the permanent way. Both of them hear every second of it, and neither one of them breathes. The ghost finishes her redecorating project and starts wondering out loud where the other person ran off to, because apparently one victim was not enough for tonight. She walks right up to the exit door, the one directly next to the utility shaft sign, asking where they're hiding and demanding they answer her question. And this right here is why Chen Shu skipped the main exit, because this thing is standing exactly where they would have been if this idiot had gotten his way. The ghost finally moves on, and Chen Shui bursts out of the shaft on top of Jiang Chen, gasping that they made it, and the position they land in is genuinely something I need to recover from. She properly introduces herself as Chen Shui, specialist in supernatural events, also known as an exorcist, and she delivers this whole resume while her shirt is ripped, and she's bleeding from 3 different places, which honestly only makes her hotter. And Jiang Chen, instead of being grateful he's alive, is mostly just fascinated that ghostbusting is an actual profession, like he's browsing career options on LinkedIn. He grabs her hand and starts thinking about how a professional must view a complete amateur like him, and brother, your hand is touching hers, read the room. Chen Shu warns that the ghost might loop back around and tells him to stick close to her from now on if he wants to survive, and my brother in Christ, she is literally asking you to stay by her side and you are not appreciating this enough. He suggests finding a way out of the building first, and that is genuinely the smartest thing he has said in 5 episodes, but behind him something is very wrong. Because the slit-mouthed ghost drops from the ceiling directly above them and Chen Shu barely screams a warning in time. The ghost gets right in their face with that rotting grin and whispers, "Can you tell me now?" Like this is a conversation and not a death sentence. Through her single massive eye you can see Jiang Chen's reflection trapped inside it like prey in a jar, and she asks the question one more time. Something detonates in a burst of white light and sends the ghost reeling because apparently someone was not done fighting. But the masked ghost from earlier comes crashing in upside down, screaming the same question, and now they're dealing with two of these things at once. Jiang Chen hits the ground with a talisman blazing in his hand while the masked ghost's weapon is pointed right at him, and this boy learned exorcism in about 45 seconds flat. Chen Shui channels everything she has left, calling on heaven and earth for primordial divine power, and the fire in her hands goes absolutely nuclear. She drops a golden light talisman directly onto the slit-mouthed ghost, and the explosion is so violent the whole hallway lights up like a second sun. The masked ghost gets caught in the blast radius and goes spinning across the floor like a kicked can. Jiang Chen starts clapping and calling it impressive, and this man really just watched a woman nuke a ghost, and his first reaction is to applaud like he's at a talent show. Except the recoil from her own attack launches Chen Shui backward, and she eats the pavement hard, which is genuinely the funniest friendly fire since team killing was invented. She admits her spiritual energy tank is on zero, and tells Jiang Chen to run downstairs and get help because she cannot fight anymore. And even beat up and bleeding, she looks unreasonably good, which I recognize is not the priority right now. But bare footsteps are already padding toward them across the tile, and the ghost's crescent weapon is just sitting on the ground within arm's reach like the universe is testing this fool personally. The slit-mouthed ghost walks up in a brand new form, long dark hair, actual human-looking body, and she calls out to Jiang Chen like they're old friends. She turns slightly and asks if he thinks she's beautiful. And from this angle with her hair covering her face, she genuinely does not look half bad, which is exactly how this trap works. And this absolute maniac smirks and goes, "Beautiful, my foot," because Jiang Chen genuinely cannot encounter danger without trash-talking at first. The ghost turns full face, and her actual appearance is a single massive red eye, a mouth split ear to ear with rows of teeth that should not exist, and I need whoever drew this to pay for my therapy. Chen Sui screams because she knows exactly what just got triggered, and this fool has no idea what he's done. She grabs Jiang Chen and bolts, yelling that answering the question at all means this ghost will harass him until he's dead, and honestly what a relatable dating experience. The ghost catches up instantly, cackling that he called her beautiful, and she is aggressively happy about it in the way that guarantees violence. He swings the weapon and screams that he never said she was beautiful. He said the exact opposite, but this ghost's reading comprehension is genuinely at a first-grade level. This man is literally arguing sarcasm with a ghost, yelling about reading comprehension like he's grading her English paper while running for his life. The ghost decides if he thinks she's pretty, she'll return the favor and make him beautiful too, and she swings that weapon with a laugh that belongs in a psych ward. The blade catches him right across the jaw, and this fool's face almost gets the free plastic surgery package he was warned about. But instead of screaming, Jiang Chen grabs the blade, looks her dead in the eye, and asks if she wants to make him happy, and the sheer audacity of this man is genuinely unprecedented. He reverses the weapon and cracks the ghost so hard across the face she actually screams, and I genuinely believe this man could flirt with death and win. The ghost staggers away, and instead of dying, she invites him to come have fun together. And Jiang Chen standing there covered in question marks is the most accurate reaction shot in this entire series. She kicks through a door with enough force to shatter the frame, because when a ghost invites you somewhere, they do not wait for an answer. She grabs Jiang Chen and drags him through, cooing about not being shy, and the energy in this scene has shifted from horror to something far more concerning. And the ghost asks if he thinks she's pretty, accuses him of planning something inappropriate, and calls him a pervert, and I genuinely cannot tell if Jiang Chen just got kidnapped or asked out on a date by the most unhinged woman in the afterlife. So the ghost who dragged him in here is now the one screaming, "Let me go," and calling him a pervert, and Jiang Chen is sitting there with the most deranged grin you have ever seen on a man who should be terrified. This maniac grabs the ghost, calls himself brother pervert, and says he wants a deeper understanding of her beauty, while ghost chi notifications are raining down like loot drops. He leans in talking about starting with a kiss, and the ghost is genuinely blushing, asking if this is real, and even the narrator text is wondering what kind of monster this boy is. He goes full contact on her face, and the ghost is losing her mind, screaming "stay away," while the system keeps handing him ghost chi like a tip jar at a buffet. But then she remembers she literally has a weapon and starts thinking, why am I even scared of this guy? And instead of stabbing him, she leans in and tells him to close the door if he's in such a hurry. And the energy in this room right now would get flagged by every content moderation team on the planet. Meanwhile, Chen Shui is standing alone in the hallway hearing all of this and trying to process what is happening behind that door. And then it hits her, this fool is doing all of that to draw the ghost away from her, and she's wondering how much courage a regular person needs to face an evil ghost head-on. Back inside, this idiot is getting manhandled by the ghost, and you can hear the pain in his voice, but he is not backing down, because she's got that crescent blade right up against his face, and the flirting phase of this encounter is officially over. She goes full psycho, teeth out, eyes blazing, telling him, "Since you love me, you should become just like me." And she means that literally with the sharp end. And for the first time, Jiang Chen actually looks scared, thinking if he pushes her any further, he's gonna die for real this time. So this absolute gamer does what any reasonable person would do in a life or death situation and pulls out a trading card. He activates the demon transformation card and summons the red python spirit. and a literal fire serpent erupts around him like he just hit his ultimate. This boy goes full blaze mode, teeth bared, flames everywhere, looking like someone who just found out he's been playing on tutorial difficulty this whole time. And the system just casually drops Snake's great strength into his inventory like a bonus item for being unhinged enough to kiss a ghost. He detonates on the ghost with everything the transformation gave him, and the entire room lights up like a microwave with tinfoil in it. And standing there wrapped in flames, this fool has the nerve to ask the ghost why she's so fixated on appearances, like he's her therapist and not the guy who was licking her face 30 seconds ago. The ghost fires back saying he's just as ugly as she is, so he should know how cruel people's stares can be, and honestly that actually landed. But Jiang Chen is not here for emotional conversations, so he answers her vulnerability with the business end of her own weapon. Then he smirks down at her and says, "You're not very confident about your looks, are you?" reading her insecurities like a book while bleeding from the face. And with the most villainous grin he's ever worn, he asks if she wants him to solve that problem permanently, and something about the way he says it would make the actual devil uncomfortable. The ghost actually takes the bait and asks how it can be solved, looking up at him with genuine desperation in those glowing red eyes. And this man grabs her head, looks down and says, "Just remove the tissues above your neck." The ghost is standing there covered in question marks, trying to process the advice while he adds that nobody will care about her appearance after that. She pulls up a mental anatomy chart, traces where the neck is, looks at the diagram, and the realization hits her like a freight train. She screams, "Why not just say you want to chop off my head?" and launches at him with every ounce of murderous rage a ghost can produce. But Jiang Chen dodges it clean, fire dancing in his palm, and tells her he's not afraid of her anymore with the kind of confidence that only comes from having a cheat code active. He activates Crimson Scale armor and his entire hand coats itself in red dragon scales wrapped in flame, which is objectively the hardest power-up animation in this series so far. And he swings on this ghost with his whole body engulfed in fire like a human meteor crashing into a building that was already having a bad night. The ghost takes the hit full force, scales burning into her skin, and she screams like something that has not felt pain in centuries just got reminded what it tastes like. He follows up with a kick so hard the weapon goes flying and the ghost goes with it like they're a package deal. Jiang Chen stands there looking at his hand as the scales fade, and this boy just went from getting his face licked by a ghost. But the ghost's blade actually managed to nick him, and instead of being upset, this lunatic compliments the knife like he's reviewing it on a shopping app. The ghost screams at him to give her knife back and charges in looking absolutely feral, and Jiang Chen just holds the weapon up with a smudged face known to mankind and goes, "Your knife?" He declares it's his now and swings the ghost's own weapon with enough force to redecorate the room in red. Except the snake strength buff kicks in at the worst possible time and launches him straight into the ceiling, because this moron forgot he just got a power-up. He's dangling in the air, genuinely asking himself if he evolved, which is the most accidentally profound thing this fool has ever said. He looks down and the first thing he notices is a very familiar chest below him, and every single one of you saw that coming before he did. The ghost is sprawled out flat on the floor, completely wrecked, spirit leaving her body, and this man just full comboed an evil ghost using its own weapon while accidentally flying. Jiang Chen stands over the burning remains of the ghost's crescent blade, looking like the final boss of a game he was not supposed to be playing. The system confirms the disfigured ghost is deceased and drops 99 ghost key in one payment, which is the fattest loot bag he's gotten so far, and it is not even close. He strolls out of that room and back into the hallway like a man who just finished a job interview he aced. And there's Chen Shu in the corridor tearing up, asking if he died in there, looking genuinely devastated, and the concern on her face right now is doing things to my cardiovascular system that I cannot explain. But she is not just standing around crying, because she pulls a small jade dagger straight from between her chest, and I need a moment to acknowledge what I just witnessed. She screams that she's not going to escape alone and charges toward the room with that tiny blade ready to fight an evil ghost for this man. And if you are not falling for Chen Shu right now, you are not human. Except Jiang Chen is already standing there perfectly fine, and some other dude is sobbing about how he was just about to open the door, and the comedic timing of this entire situation is genuinely flawless. We cut to the outside and there's an angel beauty salon sitting on a quiet street at night, which, considering we just dealt with a ghost obsessed with her looks, feels like the universe is writing jokes now. Jiang Chen and Chen Shu are walking side by side, and this fool is whistling like he did not just flirt with and then murder a ghost in the same 10-minute window. Chen Shu asks how he took down the disfigured ghost, and he just smiles and says that's a secret, which is the coldest non-answer he could have given, and she's clearly not used to someone this reckless being this effective. But the night is not over, because Jiang Chen finds a body lying in a pool of blood on the pavement and stands over it with a look that says this is not a shock, it's an opportunity. He tells the body to stop pretending and turn into a ghost already, so he can collect more chi. And this man has officially become the thing that ghosts should be afraid of. And this body is doing the absolute worst job of playing dead, because the face is covered in stitches and the mouth is wide open like a haunted ventriloquist dummy. Jiang Chen leans in close, notes there's no corpse stench yet, and genuinely asks himself if he needs to wait 7 days for this thing to ripen. But then Chen Shu hits him with the real question, asking if he's also an exorcist and admitting she completely underestimated him. And this fool responds with, "What do you mean by writing people? I've never done that." and the energy of this conversation just nosedived into territory I was not prepared for. Chen Shu brushes it off and starts explaining that the world is full of hermits and otherworldly experts now, and plenty of talented newcomers have no clue about the exorcist scene. She pulls out her phone, and the shirt situation she's got going on right now is doing this girl zero favors in the modesty department, torn up and barely holding together from the earlier fight, and she shows him the Underworld app, logged in under her name with fingerprint verification and everything. Like the supernatural world runs on the same tech stack as a banking app. Turns out there are two major factions running the show, the Tao Alliance and the Underworld, and they've basically split the exorcist world like two corporations dividing territory. The Tao Alliance scoops up every extraordinary individual and talented fighter they can find, basically running a supernatural draft pick, while the Underworld does its own thing with a separate cultivation system, and their vibe is giving secret society energy with the cloaks and the green flames and the ominous crescent moon. Chen Shui shoves her phone in his face with a QR code and tells him to scan it immediately because this app is basically LinkedIn for ghost hunters. And here's the kicker, you can photograph ghost remains and upload them to the app for points, which means this fool has been leaving free currency on the ground every time he deletes a ghost. Because those points are literally the circulating currency of the exorcist world, and Jiang Chen has been speedrunning ghost kills without collecting a single coin from the loot table. The look on this man's face when he realizes he's been grinding content for free is genuinely priceless. So naturally he bombards Chen Shui with every question known to man. How many pictures do I need a selfie with the ghost? Are there clarity requirements? When do the points deposit? And she physically shoves him away, telling him to save the rest for later, because this dunce turned a supernatural briefing into a customer support call. Because Chen Shu's face just went dead serious, and she says they need to leave immediately. There's still a ghost hiding in this building. And this absolute maniac's first response is not fear or concern, but pure excitement. Asking where the ghost is like someone just told him there's a sale on his favorite loot. Chen Shui tells him to cut the jokes because judging by the malevolent energy levels, this might be a high-level evil ghost, which is several weight classes above what he just fought. And that's when this clown's entire aura shifts, the goofy energy vanishes, and suddenly he's standing there like a completely different person with Chen Shui. He starts quoting his grandpa about responsibility and declares that protecting the residents in this building is the duty of those with the ability to do it, weapon glowing in his hand. Then charges off screaming target high-level ghost like a man accepting a quest in an RPG while Chen Shui stands there in absolute silence trying to process what just happened. But she remembers he saved her life once, and those blue eyes narrow with the kind of determination that makes you root for someone you barely know. She asks which floor, and he says the 6th, which if you recall is exactly where the beauty salon was, so they're heading right back into the hornet's nest. And something shifts behind those eyes because Chen Shu actually starts thinking maybe he's right. That power comes with obligation, and she'd been too narrow-minded this whole time. Meanwhile, Jiang Chen is over here doing math, counting one more ghost he hasn't farmed yet, and noting he still has 18 minutes on his demon transformation card, so it would be a crime to waste the timer. 6th floor, cobwebs on the sign, a cockroach casually chilling like it pays rent here, and the atmosphere just plummeted about 30 degrees. And there's the Angel Beauty Salon entrance leaking red malevolent energy like someone left the supernatural faucet running, which is exactly as inviting as it sounds. Jiang Chen catches the smell of disinfectant coming from inside, and Chen Shu is right behind him looking like she's seen this room before and did not enjoy the experience. He walks through the abandoned salon and connects the dots, muttering that Jiang Meimei must be the one who turned into a ghost after her beauty business went under. But then he spots a web of red strings laced with coins strung across the room and turns to Chen Shui asking if these traps are hers. She confirms it, saying she originally set up a formation here specifically to lock down Jiang Meimei. And now we're getting backstory on why this girl was already in the building. Except right when she was about to finish the job, a completely different ghost ambushed her out of nowhere, and she got sent flying like a ragdoll with no warning. Jiang Chen is already scanning the room, yelling, "Where's the other ghost?" like a kid at an Easter egg hunt, while Chen Shu screams at him to actually listen for once in his life. She tells him she suspects the second ghost is outside the salon and points down the hall. And now there's a direction to their stupidity. The hallway outside is absolutely drowning in green ghostly chi, tendrils crawling across the walls like the building itself caught a supernatural infection, and this lunatic just walks up to the door and rings the doorbell, green energy seeping through the cracks like he's delivering a pizza to the gates of the underworld. A shadow appears behind the window, and a voice starts calling out "sister," which is exactly the kind of greeting that makes normal people turn around and leave. The face that presses against the glass has dead white eyes and cracked blue skin, and it asks, "Who are you looking for?" And this is objectively the scariest room service check ever. But Jiang Chen does not flinch because he's already got the Underworld app open, generating a fake police ID with one tap of the confirm button like he's committing fraud against the afterlife. Chen Shui flashes the badge at the ghost, announces there's been a violent incident and demands cooperation with the inspection. And the way her torn shirt frames this whole scene is making this look less like law enforcement and more like a fever dream I would willingly never wake up from. And the ghost just says, "Come in," like a polite neighbor who has absolutely nothing to hide, while Jiang Chen whispers to himself, wondering if this app is really that broken. All three of them walk into the apartment like the world's most unqualified police unit, Chen Shui leading the sweep while the actual ghost resident just stands there looking mildly inconvenienced. Chen Shui spots family portraits on the wall, a couple with a little kid, and suddenly this haunted apartment has a backstory that's about to make things complicated. Jiang Chen notices it too, muttering about a family portrait while both of them start piecing together that this ghost might have been a person with a whole life before things went wrong. And you can see it click in their eyes at the same time that this situation is not as simple as walking in and swinging on something. Chen Shui asks if she's home alone, and the ghost says no, her son is here too, and something about the way she says it while her dead face cracks into protective concern is genuinely unsettling. Jiang Chen's eyes go wide because a ghost having a son raises about 40 questions and exactly 0 of them have comfortable answers. The ghost immediately panics when they ask to speak with the kid, sweating through skin that should not be capable of sweating. And whatever she's hiding behind that bedroom door just became the most interesting thing in this building. She begs them, saying he's only 8 years old and couldn't have done anything wrong. And the desperation on a ghost's face protecting her child is hitting somewhere it should not be hitting. Chen Shui puts on her sweetest smile and reassures her it's just routine procedure. Nobody suspects the boy of anything, which is either excellent police work or an incredible bluff. The ghost finally caves and turns to go call her son out while Chen Shui watches her walk toward that bedroom door with the kind of focus that says she already knows something is very wrong in there. Because Chen Shui already asked the other residents, and besides Zhang Mei, there's apparently another strange presence in this building, and whatever's behind that door is about to answer a whole lot of questions. Turns out multiple residents have spotted a young boy eating alone in the corners of this building, and the kid immediately snaps at them, screaming to get away because they're scaring his friend, while Jiang Chen connects the dots that this might be the strange presence the girl downstairs mentioned. Chen Shui leans in close to Jiang Chen and whispers that she found out some of the victims had their organs taken, and the ghost mom's face materializes right between them like the world's worst third wheel, making both of them nearly jump out of their skin. She tells them her son refuses to come out, so maybe they should just go in and see him, and Chen Shui immediately agrees like she was waiting for exactly this invitation. So Chen Shui pushes the bedroom door open, announcing they're coming in, and that torn shirt is still holding on for dear life in ways that are actively testing my ability to focus on the plot. But what they find inside is genuinely not what anyone expected because this kid's room looks completely normal. Stuffed animals, bookshelves, a little desk lamp, and the kid himself just sitting there reading with these dead suspicious eyes peeking over the pages. He looks up at both of them and asks what exactly they're here for. And honestly, the way this 8-year-old is staring them down with more composure than most adults, Chen Shui puts on her friendliest smile and tells him not to be afraid because she's his mom's friend, here to check on him. And this kid's whole face twists as he spits out, "Mom? You mean that woman outside? She's not my mom." And the way his face cracks open with pure terror when he says it makes every hair on my body stand up. Jiang Chen points out that the family photo hanging right outside in the living room clearly shows them together and asks what on earth he means by she's not his mom. This fool leans in wearing a pajama shirt covered in baby chicks and tells the kid that lying makes a little birdie fly away, and somehow he thinks that's intimidating. But the kid's eyes fill with tears, and he whispers that he didn't lie because she's not his mom anymore. Jiang Chen's whole demeanor shifts, pats the kid on the head, and tells him to keep going because that word anymore just changed absolutely everything. So the kid starts telling his story. One night his mom was washing her hair at the bathroom sink and he asked for an apple. His dad grabbed a knife and started peeling one in the living room. And listen, keep your eye on this apple because it matters way more than it should. The clock on the wall reads 11:59. The kid was amazed watching his dad peel the entire apple in one long unbroken strip, not a single tear in the skin, while he sucked on his lollipop. And dad, proud of himself, walks over to mom at the sink holding up the spiral peel like a trophy, asking if she's impressed with his knife skills. The clock strikes midnight. 0000. And something in this story just crossed a threshold that should not have been crossed. Dad offers mom a bite of the freshly peeled apple while the kid says he can eat it himself, both parents reaching for him like a perfectly normal family. But right when mom took a bite of that apple, the kid noticed something that froze him solid. The mom standing in the room was eating the apple, but the mom reflected in the mirror was still washing her hair. Two different actions, same person, same moment. Jiang Chen leans forward and asks what happened next because even this fool can feel the weight of where this is heading. The kid says he got so scared he bolted back to his room and never found out what happened after that night, and the sweat pouring off this child says he hasn't stopped being afraid since. Ever since that night, the thing wearing his mom's face stopped feeding him. So this kid has been sneaking downstairs to beg other residents for leftover food and eating in corners just to survive. Now here is where it gets wild, because Chen Shui turns those gorgeous blue eyes to Jiang Chen and asks how exactly he interprets all of this. And this moron goes dead serious for once in his life, saying he's heard an urban legend about exactly this. If you peel an apple completely in front of a mirror at midnight without breaking the skin, the mirror ghost possesses your body and steals your entire life. The dad did it by accident and handed his wife's body to something on the other side. Chen Shui wastes zero time and tells him to come check the bathroom sink right now, and the way she takes charge while looking that good in a wrecked shirt is genuinely weaponized competence. They head toward the bathroom together, and the mirror above the sink is completely gone. Just a blank wall staring back at them where a reflection should be. The nail is still embedded in the tile though, which means somebody deliberately ripped that mirror down after the fact to hide the evidence. That's when the ghost woman's voice echoes from the kitchen saying dinner is ready and inviting them both to stay for a meal, which is absolutely the most terrifying hospitality I've ever witnessed. Chen Shui immediately whispers that the kid literally just told them this thing stopped cooking for him. So who exactly is this meal for and what exactly is in it? Jiang Chen admits he has no clue what's going on but says they should play along and figure it out as they go. which is his strategy for literally everything. And then the food arrives. If you can call it that, because what's sitting on the table is surrounded by worms crawling in every direction, and I genuinely need a moment. We're talking chunks of rotting meat infested with maggots, flies buzzing around it, served on a plate like this is a Michelin star restaurant in the ninth circle of the underworld. Both of them nearly lose it on the spot, Jiang Chen pointing out that even death row inmates would riot if you serve them this while Chen Shu can barely look at it. The ghost tilts her head and asks if the food isn't to their liking with the sincerity of a grandmother who spent all day in the kitchen, and that's genuinely the most disturbing hospitality check in recorded history. And this absolute menace, Jiang Chen, without missing a beat, tells her the presentation is a bit too plain, and Chen Shu nearly combusts on the spot, screaming that he's lost his mind. The ghost leans in and asks what he likes to eat because she'll make it special for him, and the way her dead face cracks into an eager grin tells me this thing has an agenda. So Jiang Chen, with the confidence of a man who has never once feared consequences, orders strawberry stewed pig kidney and asks her not to wash it too thoroughly because he likes the flavor raw. The ghost literally gags. The Underworld app pings immediately. Mirror Ghost feels nauseous. Ghost key plus 20. This maniac is farming experience points by making a ghost want to throw up. And a red-haired figure watching through the app confirms it, smirking that the identity of the ghost should be pretty obvious by now, which means Jiang Chen's disgusting food order was never about eating at all. Jiang Chen plays it off, telling the ghost he was just kidding and he'll settle for something normal, and the ghost actually looks relieved, which is information in itself. But then this unhinged gremlin asks for a plain 9-turn horse eye instead, and says it would be rude to pass up such a delicacy, and by some unholy coincidence the ghost says there happens to be a horse eye in the fridge and scurries off to cook it while Chen Shui stares at Jiang Chen like she's questioning every life choice that led to this partnership. She brings out the finished dish, and it's a literal horse eyeball the size of a fist sitting on a plate, veins still attached, staring directly into my soul through the screen. The ghost proudly explains she made it semi-cooked since he likes the original flavor, and Chen Shu beside him looks like her spirit already left her body 3 requests ago. Jiang Chen picks up the entire eyeball with his chopsticks, holds it right in front of his face, and the man who ordered this monstrosity is finally confronting the reality of what he's about to do. And this certifiable psychopath opens his mouth and shoves the entire horse eyeball straight in because apparently farming ghost chi is worth permanently traumatizing every single person watching this, myself included. He bites down and the juices explode out of this cursed orb like a rotten gusher while the ghost woman behind him screams so hard her soul nearly leaves her already dead body. And then this lunatic spits the chewed remains right back onto the plate like he's at a wine tasting. Tells the ghost it was so hard that golf balls would be easier to chew, and the audacity of this man critiquing ghost cuisine is genuinely unmatched. The ghost is genuinely offended, calling him picky and wondering where on earth this human gets his attitude from. The Underworld app confirms he's deliberately tormenting this ghost and slaps another 30 ghost chi onto his tab like a loyalty reward. Because Jiang Chen follows up by telling her the cooking is so bad that dogs would file an animal cruelty complaint, and no wonder her own son eats out every single day. But that comment just triggered something because Chen Shu suddenly feels a wave of ghost chi so thick it could choke the room, and a massive spectral hand is reaching down right above her. Jiang Chen throws his arm around the ghost like they're old drinking buddies, tells her to calm down and says he'll give her one more chance to make something edible with no conditions attached. Then he leans in close to Chen Sui and whispers, does she know how to make blanched male children? And the way those gorgeous blue eyes go wide tells me she caught exactly what he's about to do. This absolute menace grabs the ghost boy and announces to the ghost that she's got a readily available ingredient right here at home, and the kid's face says he was not briefed on this strategy. And the ghost woman takes the bait so hard she starts giving cooking instructions on how to boil her own son, whispering strip him bare, toss him in boiling water, medium rare this time. That one word changes everything because the ghost's eye locks onto Jiang Chen with pure murderous recognition. Its mouth splits open into rows of jagged fangs as it starts to realize that this fool has been playing it this entire time. The mirror ghost drops every pretense and goes full boss phase, shrieking at the top of its non-existent lungs. Chen Shui immediately confirms this thing is a top-level evil ghost, and honestly the fear on her face just makes her look even more unfairly attractive, which feels wrong to notice right now, but here we are. And Jiang Chen responds by letting his jacket slip off one shoulder with rose petals materializing around him like a cologne commercial, and asks why she's getting angry when he was just messing around. The ghost absolutely loses it, screaming that she'll play with him alright, and the app starts hemorrhaging ghost chi plus 20 after plus 20 after plus 20 after plus 20th, but then Jiang Chen's whole vibe shifts, eyes glowing green with red marks on his face, grinning like something that crawled out of a different genre entirely, asking why she's so serious when they were just having fun. He says fine, he'll get serious too, and a crimson serpent construct erupts from his hand with enough force to crack the floor, and this is not the same goofy buffoon from 5 minutes ago. Crimson Inferno. Massive red skeletal bone structures erupt everywhere like the ribcage of something that should never have existed. The entire apartment building shakes as the explosion rips through the walls and lights up the night sky like someone detonated a small sun on the 3rd floor. The mirror ghost takes it directly to the face, and for one beautiful second it looks like this fight might actually be over. It screams so loud the sound alone could curdle blood. But then Jiang Chen realizes the ghost's raw power is no joke because those crimson bones are straining under her counterattack. The ghost rips straight through his crimson inferno like it was decorative and sends the debris flying in every direction. Jiang Chen shouts that it's too late, and for the first time this man actually looks worried, which means we should all be terrified. because the ghost is already on top of him, glowing and cackling, and this idiot is staring down something he might not be able to punch his way out of. The ghost's eye swirls into a hypnotic vortex and catches Jiang Chen dead center in its gaze like a fly walking into a web it can't see. Now here is where it gets absolutely critical, because a new figure appears with hypnotic swirling eyes, and this has to be the ghost's charm ability activating at full power. Jiang Chen goes completely still, eyes hidden behind his hair, and for a solid heartbeat it looks like the charm worked. And the kid almost gets caught too, because a hand slaps over his eyes at the last possible second. Chen Shui dove in and shielded the boy herself, yelling not to look into the ghost's eyes, and the fact that she's protecting a child while still looking that good in a destroyed shirt is genuinely weaponized multitasking. The ghost laughs and taunts them, saying if they've got the ability then keep going, because this thing knows it just landed its strongest move. Jiang Chen's face is drenched in sweat with something growing on his cheeks like scales or barnacles, and his eyes have gone completely white, which is not a good sign for anybody. But then he mutters that his head almost split open, and I realize this absolute cockroach survived the charm through sheer stubbornness. Turns out this moron slapped his crimson scale armor over his own eyeballs at the last second like contact lenses from the underworld, and that's the only reason he's still standing. He knows he can't afford to get charmed again, so this next attack needs to end it, and his entire hand is now covered in crimson scales with a serpent coiling around his fingers. He calls out the power of the twin pythons, and a massive crimson serpent launches straight at the ghost, with its jaws wide open like a freight train with teeth. The ghost tries to dodge, and honestly the panic on its face is giving me life after everything it just pulled. The python crashes through the corridor with enough force to demolish the walls, and the entire building is probably going to need a new insurance policy after tonight. The ghost lands on the rubble, taunting him, saying sure he's got power, but he's way too slow to ever catch her, which is exactly the kind of overconfident trash talk that ages poorly, because Jiang Chen just smiles, surrounded by flames, and asks her if she can guess why this move is called the twin pythons, singular emphasis on twin. And there it is. A second python was waiting behind her this entire time, tongue flickering, whispering that it's been so patient. The python wraps around the ghost like a boa constrictor collecting a debt, and this thing is screaming to be let go, but those coils are not negotiating. The squeeze gets tighter and the ghost starts bleeding from its mouth, because when you talk trash about being uncatchable and get caught immediately, the app pings one final time. Mirror Ghost regrets coming to this world. Ghost Chi plus 95. This thing went from haunting a family to regretting its entire afterlife in under 10 minutes. The ghost screams that it's about to be crushed, and genuinely, after what it did to that family, I feel nothing. The python slams the ghost into the ground so hard the floor craters, and the ghost gets launched out of the wreckage like a ragdoll. And there it lies, flat on the tile, surrounded by crimson flames, twitching but barely holding itself together. Jiang Chen stands over it with both fire pythons flanking him like bodyguards, pointing out that even after getting shredded by his demonic power, this thing still hasn't had its soul scattered, which means it's tougher than he thought. Chen Shu watches from behind, those blue eyes processing everything, genuinely impressed but also demanding to know what kind of sorcery Jiang Chen just pulled, because none of this was in the brochure. But the ghost is still burning on the ground, this time engulfed in green flames, and anything that refuses to die after all that punishment deserves a little bit of respect and a lot more violence. Chen Shu shouts to be careful because a top-level evil ghost might not go down in one round. And the fact that she's giving tactical callouts while shielding a child while looking absolutely devastating, Jiang Chen just tilts his head, eyes glowing green through the shadows, and asks if that's really true, because he's so scared, and the sarcasm dripping off this man could fill a swimming pool. But then Chen Shui steps forward with crimson scales materializing down her arm, tells him to stand back, and wait, she has powers too. She grips what looks like a blade with a crimson python wrapping around it, and I need answers immediately, because this woman just went from support to frontline in one breath. And the mirror ghost, burning in green flames and screaming with every ounce of hatred left in its shattered body, is about to find out exactly what she can do with it. Jiang Chen stares down the burning ghost and decides he's going all in on this gamble, because the ghost fires off a black phantom strike before he can even blink, and this fool tanks it head-on by layering his crimson scale armor at the last possible second. He comes crashing down from above with crimson flames trailing behind him like a comet aiming for the ghost's skull, and the impact cracks through the building like someone dropped a meteor on a parking garage. Jiang Chen's grinning through the smoke with those green eyes burning and crimson scales across his cheeks, but the ghost just laughs at him, mocking his power like it was barely a warm-up, until something hits that the ghost did not expect, and suddenly this top-level evil ghost is screaming that it's leaving, ditching the fight mid-sentence like a rage quitter in ranked. Jiang Chen chases after it, asking if they can hang out a little longer, and the ghost tells him to shut up and stop following, which is genuinely the funniest thing a terrifying evil spirit has ever said. Meanwhile, downstairs, a little kid tugs at their mom, saying it's noisy upstairs, and the mom just assumes the young man upstairs is getting tortured, sweating nervously and genuinely sounding sympathetic about it. So naturally, this nosy neighbor decides to crack the door open and take a little peek, because that always ends well. And the mirror ghost blasts through the hallway right past the civilian like a freight train made of nightmares. The woman freezes, muttering about what just flew by her, and the terror on her face tells me she's already processing that she should not have opened that door. Because now there's a second ghost standing in the hallway asking if she wants a staring contest or some smooching and hugging, which has got to be the most aggressively sus pickup line a dead entity has ever used. The woman hits the floor screaming, and I cannot blame her even a little. But then the entire side of the building detonates outward in a fireball that belongs in a Michael Bay movie. Jiang Chen rockets out of the explosion and the ghost has gone full kaiju mode, towering over the rooftops with green and orange flames licking off its body. And this maniac drops a flying kick directly onto the ghost's face like he's ordering delivery violence. And just like that, the mirror ghost is on the ground and Jiang Chen is standing over it with the most disrespectful smile I have ever seen on a protagonist. Then this absolute psychopath leans down and tells the ghost, "Hey sis, you only ate a few people. No biggie, let's have a chat," and he'll let it go. The ghost is lying there twitching and shaking, completely at his mercy. And the app chimes in with the most backhanded compliment possible, saying he talks more like a ghost than the actual ghost. Ghost Chi plus 30. The ghost starts straight up crying, tears and snot running down its monstrous face. And the notifications keep stacking. Deeply hurt plus 50. Wronged deep inside plus 66. This man is emotionally farming a ghost like it's a mobile game event. Jiang Chen checks his ghost chi total and grins like a tax collector who just discovered a new loophole. Then he pats the ghost on the head like a puppy, tells it not to worry because its value has already been completely drained, and honestly this might be the most emotionally devastating thing anyone has ever said to another being. Shen Shu steps in with that devastating smile and wishes the ghost a safe trip to the afterlife, and the way she delivers that line while looking like a supermodel is criminal. The ghost begs for its life with snot and tears pouring everywhere, and for a second you almost feel bad, almost. Because Jiang Chen tilts his head with those crimson scales blooming across his cheeks and says he'll consider it. Too late. A massive crimson python rises behind him with jaws the size of a garage door, and this ghost's refund request just got denied. The python opens wide and drowns the ghost in green venom like a burial by acid bath. Crimson bottle burial. The ghost screams as it dissolves inside the liquid and its body starts coming apart piece by piece like someone hit the uninstall button on its entire existence. The python watches its meal dissolve into green mist and honestly rest in pieces. Jiang Chen stands there smiling with flames behind him, crimson scales still glowing on his cheeks, looking like the most unhinged ghost therapist in human history. Turns out top-level evil ghosts can tank 3 full attacks from a 1-star demon, which means this thing was genuinely elite and Jiang Chen still bullied it into crying. The app updates and Jiang Chen's ghost chi just hit 889 with a Demon King transformation card unlocked. This fool went from struggling to absolute whale territory in one fight. He checks his stats grinning, saying not bad for a single ghost giving him this much chi, when Chen Shu runs up asking how he's doing. And hold on, is this the same boy from the haunted apartment? Jiang Chen casually tells him the ghost problem is handled like he just finished taking out the trash instead of dissolving an apex predator in acid. But then the kid points out the absolute disaster zone on the ground and asks if Jiang Chen can clean it up, and this moron just stares at the green residue like he forgot destruction has consequences. So the kid just pulls up the Underworld app and files a cleanup request like it's a maintenance ticket at a haunted hotel. Chen Shui offers to drive Jiang Chen home, and can we talk about how she pulls up in this scenario looking effortlessly gorgeous while being competent at literally everything? Jiang Chen mumbles he can go alone like the prideful dork he is. Then she clicks a car key and a yellow Porsche lights up behind her because apparently ghost hunting pays better than I thought. Jiang Chen's jaw nearly detaches from his face, and he blurts out asking if she's some rich kid, which is exactly what all of us would say. She says she earned every penny herself because each point on the Underworld score converts to 10,000 in cash, and suddenly this ghost hunting gig is looking like the best career path on the planet. Jiang Chen immediately pulls out his phone like a man who just discovered his bank account might have changed overnight. Points added. 150. This man just banked 1.5 million from one ghost fight. He screams into the night sky about getting rich, and honestly the character development from terrified to millionaire took about 15 minutes. So they hop in the Porsche and speed off into the city lights like the most unlikely duo in ghost hunting history, and the ride is dead silent. This fool is sitting in a gorgeous woman's sports car and generating zero conversation. Peak performance. Until Chen Shu breaks the silence by asking about his grandfather, and those blue eyes suddenly look a lot more curious than casual. Jiang Chen deflects hard, saying the old man is just a corpse mover at a funeral parlor and nothing special, but the way he dodges that question tells me grandpa is hiding something that could flip this entire story upside down. Chen Shui's behind the wheel putting the pieces together, and she's already convinced Jiang Chen's grandpa must be some kind of hidden master, because apparently everyone who knows anything about this idiot's family has been told one thing over and over: keep Jiang Chen out of it. But instead of pressing that any further, she switches topics and brings up the Dao Alliance and the Underworld Court, and this fool asks why there are 2 law enforcement agencies in the Exorcist world like he just found out there's a student council. So Chen Shui starts explaining that originally there was only the Dao Alliance running the whole show. Until about 100 years ago, the Underworld Court showed up with an army of absolute nightmares and said we live here now, and with that kind of firepower they just helped themselves to half the Dao Alliance's responsibilities, like splitting a dinner bill nobody agreed to. Jiang Chen's eyebrow goes up and he's like, wait, they stole the leadership position and the Dao Alliance was just okay with that? And Chen Shui, bless her heart and everything the artist chose to focus on in this panel, explains that being the leader is basically a death sentence with extra paperwork, because every time dark energy erupts the restricted areas go absolutely feral, and the leader has to send exorcists to guard those zones, knowing full well most of them are not coming back. They call it guarding, but it's really just feeding people to the grinder. Jiang Chen's repeating the words restricted area like a man who just heard a term he's about to regret learning when his phone pings. The Underworld app just dropped a notification saying dark energy erupted 3 hours ago and they need C+ rank exorcist minimum to deal with it. And the sweat on Shen Shui's face tells you everything because a restricted area is connected to something so terrifying that there are only 6 of them on the entire map, all coded SS, and each one is basically a portal to the end of the world. She breaks down the ranking system from E all the way up to S, which measures both exorcists and ghosts. So you've got your tier list, vengeful ghosts at the bottom, ghost kings at S rank sitting at the very top of the food chain, and the restricted area, 2 full tiers above a ghost king. Let that sink in for a second. Jiang Chen, whose survival instincts have been questionable since Minute 1, immediately asks what this group mission is about. And the mirror ghost pops in with that unhinged grin asking if he dares to join because apparently even the skull emoji on his shoulder is having a good time. They agree to meet in 4 days and the Porsche disappears into a tunnel like the world's most expensive bat signal. Storm rolls in that night and our boy's already running through his calendar. Day after tomorrow, it's Master Zheng's party. Then it's Chen Sui's group mission. So this absolute degenerate is up at midnight on his laptop like a speedrunner optimizing his ghost hunting schedule. He's thinking he's got 2 free days to farm some ghost chi before everything pops off because apparently this currency has an expiration date. And right as he's scrolling through missions, something catches his eye. A top secret case file about a patient who died in a hospital, a nurse who dropped dead in the stairwell, and then both bodies vanished from the morgue. But surveillance shows nobody left the building. The corpses are still inside somewhere. This maniac is already checking the difficulty like he's browsing a delivery app for danger. D+ threat level, solo mission, 100 points. That's $1 million in cash just sitting on a bloody table waiting for someone dumb enough to collect it. But first, school. Because even ghost hunters have to pretend they care about attendance. Couple girls walking by asking where to go after class. And Jiang Chen's internal monologue is genuinely poetry. Pretty girls during the day, haunted houses at night. When a red sports car comes screaming through campus, nearly collecting pedestrians like bonus points in a racing game. The girls scramble out of the way yelling about the insane driving and then one of them recognizes it's Master Zheng's car and immediately swallows the complaint. But Jiang Chen, this absolute unit, doesn't even flinch. Just stands there in the middle of the road like a final boss refusing to dodge. Car screeches to a halt right in front of him, and he's got his hands in his pockets looking at this vehicle like it personally owes him money. And out comes Zheng Xiaoming, this discount mob boss with a gold chain and a terrible personality, asking why Jiang Chen didn't even try to hide. Jiang Chen hits him with the coldest line, with the mental strength of 2 worlds. You think this little stunt scares me? And those heterochromatic eyes are not playing around. Then he plants his foot on the bumper of this rich kid's car and goes, "Oh, Master Zheng, big boy now? Mommy doesn't drive you to school anymore?" That is verbal violence. And the vein on Xiaoming's forehead could qualify as its own character right now. This clown slams the gas pedal in his gold shoes like revving the engine is supposed to be a threat. The car's speakers are vibrating apart from the sheer force of this temper tantrum. Bystanders are panicking, thinking this vehicle is about to detonate because Xiaoming is treating his engine like a stress ball. But Jiang Chen just grins and goes, "Yeah, that's actually pretty scary, but you're really trying to intimidate me with some gas pedal therapy." And then the camera zooms into his eye and that green snake pupil activates as he tells Xiaoming he's still a bit green. The disrespect is clinical, because suddenly there's a crimson snake materializing around Xiaoming's throat, and this man's confidence just evaporated into the atmosphere. The snake bites down on his face, and Xiaoming screams like a man who just realized he picked the absolute worst person on campus to bully. Jiang Chen walks off grinning while Xiaoming's in the background wailing about how terrified he is of snakes, and honestly that might be the most satisfying karma delivery this series has had. He's thinking the leftover power from his last 2 exorcisms should be more than enough to handle a clown like Xiaoming. Scene switch to actual school because this man still has to pretend he's a normal college student. Teacher's going on about chapter 2, and Jiang Chen is sitting there with his textbook open looking like the model student while his brain is anywhere but this classroom. Because his phone just buzzed with a notification about the SS restricted area in Ghost City having a disturbance cycle every 10 years. The restricted area of all places is in Ghost City, and whatever's sealed behind those gates looks like it crawled out of someone's worst nightmare. The negative energy outbreak is the warning sign before a full disturbance, but the cycle is supposed to be every 10 years and it's only been 8. So either the math is wrong or something accelerated the timeline and neither option is great. And just as that realization hits him like a truck, the teacher catches him zoning out and orders him to stand up and translate the first paragraph. Worst timing in educational history. This genius stands up, opens his mouth and says fish-flavored omelet. The entire class erupts into laughter and honestly I felt that secondhand embarrassment in my bones. But he just shrugs it off thinking the restricted area isn't his problem anyway. Right now the priority is getting stronger. Keep your eye on that mindset because it's about to get tested. After class, this man heads straight to the cafeteria and orders 2 fried chicken legs like a king who just conquered a small nation. And the way this chicken is drawn should be illegal because it looks better than anything I've eaten in the last month. Our boy bites in with the satisfaction of a man who knows he just bullied a rich kid, earned $1 million from ghosts, and still has chicken for lunch. When 2 new faces pop up, Li Ji, the dude in the pink cat hoodie with sunglasses who looks like he blogs about streetwear, and Zhao Erhu, this Buddhist monk-looking guy radiating big brother energy. Jiang Chen glances at them and drops a warning about whatever trouble's been brewing lately, telling them not to get mixed up in it. But Li Ji puffs his chest out munching on chicken, saying he's not afraid of Zheng Xiaoming because he, Mr. Li, fears no man. Jiang Chen immediately asks then why'd you bring Erhu as your bodyguard, and the call-out is ruthless. Li Ji doesn't even deny it, just chews his chicken and says it's precisely because Erhu is here that he's brave. At least he's honest about being a coward. Erhu, on the other hand, is fully lit up with golden energy like a walking Buddhist firewall, saying Xiaoming can't trick him. And Jiang Chen's clocking the golden light covering Erhu's entire body, thinking, hold on, this wholesome monk is also an exorcist. He tells them both to relax, he can handle Xiaoming solo. Now move because he's trying to eat in peace. That's when Li Ji spots someone across the room, and his entire personality reboots as he gasps Goddess Lin. Two girls turn around carrying their lunch trays, one with a black ponytail giving off cold president energy, and the other with long pink hair who looks like she wandered out of a dating sim. The pink-haired one beams and goes, hi Jiang Chen, and excuse me while I pick my jaw up off the floor because she is radiating main love interest energy that could power a small city. Li Ji's waving back at her with both hands like an excited golden retriever, while Jiang Chen barely turns around. Li Ji is going ballistic, asking if Jiang Chen is into guys because Goddess Lin just greeted him first and he completely ignored her. The audacity. The waste. The black-haired friend immediately drags Yue away with fire in her eyes, saying, didn't I tell you yesterday to stop bothering with that guy? She's lecturing Yue about how someone excellent in everything shouldn't waste time on a low-class boy, and Yue's just standing there smiling like she heard none of that. Then she drops the real warning. Zheng Xiaoming has decided to go after Jiang Chen, but Yue counters saying her dad already had a talk with Xiaoming, so he won't do anything reckless. Wait, her dad has that kind of pull? A friend fires back that there's a whole line of rich nobles chasing after Yue, and if they find out she's protecting some nobody, they're going to lose it. And honestly, she has a point, even if I hate her for making it. Now here's where the story takes a hard left, because we cut to a hospital at night with someone screaming for help. Staff is rushing a patient through the dark corridors on a gurney yelling for a doctor, and this place already feels wrong. Because the patient's face is half gone. Not metaphorically. Half his face looks like it went through a meat grinder, and the doctors are screaming that he's dying. The surgical team confirms the right side of his face is completely destroyed and they need the chief physician for emergency surgery immediately. But when the chief arrives, he takes one look at this patient and freezes because something about this body is not adding up. There are dark spots spreading across the patient's hands, and this doctor's face says he's never seen anything like it in his entire career. The nurses start whispering that his hands were moving on their own a second ago and he was moaning, which would be normal except for one tiny detail. Every single doctor in that room is staring at something above the body that we can't see yet, and the air just left the building. The chief's voice cracks as he asks where the family members are because whatever he's looking at has broken something in his understanding of medicine. Nobody. The hallway outside is completely empty. No family, no visitors, no explanation for how this patient even got here. The chief starts barking orders to call the hospital director because whatever is happening in this building is way above his pay grade. 3 days later, a yellow car cruises through the night, and guess who's riding toward that exact hospital? Jiang Chen's in the back seat scrolling through his phone with that familiar look of a man who smells money and danger in equal measure. The Underworld app confirms it. North 2nd Road Hospital. Mysterious deaths. Patients and doctors both. The hospital already contacted the Underworld for backup. Even a taxi driver is telling him not to go near that hospital because things have been strange there lately. A taxi driver giving ghost warnings is when you know the location is cooked, but Jiang Chen just smiles at his phone saying it's not too bad yet. And the confidence on this fool is either inspiring or deeply concerning. The taxi pulls into the sketchiest back alley near the hospital with dumpsters and peeling walls like the GPS took them to the horror movie entrance. Driver tells him the hospital is right there, walk the rest yourself. And Jiang Chen just goes okay like he's being dropped off at a convenience store and not a death trap. He steps out and immediately notices the streets are dead empty. A place that should be packed with foot traffic, and there's not a single soul in sight. The hospital looms ahead bathed in that sickly blue light, and everything about this building screams do not enter in 17 different languages. A man covered in red marks comes tumbling down the stairs, screaming at Jiang Chen to leave and begging something invisible to stop following him. So this place is already fully operational nightmare fuel. Does our boy run? Does he call for backup? No. He strolls toward the building with his hands in his pockets while the entire area leaks green ghost energy. He looks up at the building dripping with supernatural mist and confirms this is the place. Then he grins and says he came a long way for this, so it better not disappoint him. This hospital has no idea what just walked through its front door. First thing he hears walking into this nightmare of a building is footsteps in the dark, and this absolute menace spots a nurse ghost and starts drooling like he just found a rare drop. Hard eyes and everything, screaming that he loves it like he's window shopping at a ghost buffet. And then this fool goes and grabs the nurse's hand and she screams because guess what, genius? His system flags her as having ghost chi, but she's actually a living human being. So now he has to awkwardly apologize like, sorry for scaring you, sister nurse. I thought you were dead, and that is genuinely the worst pickup line in recorded history. She snaps back, telling him the emergency room is on the 3rd floor and to go there himself because she wants nothing to do with this weirdo. But Jiang Chen hits her with the smoothest, most unsettling response. I'm not looking for a doctor, I want to go to the morgue. And the color drains from this poor woman's face as she repeats it back like she's hoping she heard wrong. This maniac just grins wider and says he has some urgent business to attend to down there. And she bolts like her life depends on it, screaming, what are you up to? Which honestly, fair reaction. So Jiang Chen's chasing after her going, relax, I'm not the murderer from the news, which is exactly what the murderer from the news would say. She's gone. Vanished down the hallway, screaming don't ask me at the top of her lungs, and this buffoon is left standing there alone. And he has the nerve to look confused about why she ran, wondering if maybe his smile wasn't sincere enough. That's when a doctor peeks out of a room asking why it's so loud because this is a hospital, not a haunted house, except it literally is both right now. Jiang Chen immediately switches to polite mode, apologizing and asking very casually where the morgue is. And this doctor has the exact same reaction as the nurse, repeating the morgue back like it's a word he's never heard before. But instead of running, he actually asks if Jiang Chen is here about that matter. And now we're getting somewhere. Jiang Chen perks up instantly, asking if the doctor knows something about the morgue. And this doctor breaks into the creepiest grin imaginable, which in any normal situation would be a red flag the size of a billboard. Turns out this guy was the one who reported everything to the hospital director back when things first went sideways. He saw it all from the start. So Jiang Chen locks those cold eyes on him and asks very politely if the good doctor would be kind enough to take him there. And just like that, this terrified hospital worker is leading him through the darkest hallways you've ever seen, saying turn left here like a GPS running on anxiety. Along the way, the doctor starts spilling everything. After that patient disappeared, the whole hospital started going wrong. It started in the ICU with a paralyzed old man and bloody footprints all over the floor of his room. Now hold on, because the man's son is staring at these footprints thinking my dad can't walk. So who was pacing around his room at night? And it gets worse because every single print is just the tips of the toes, like whatever was walking was barely touching the ground. The doctor's thinking it couldn't be that a ghost possessed his body, and we're staring at this grotesque foot covered in red veins, saying yes. That night, the son decided to stay in the room with his father and sleep right next to the bed, which is either brave or profoundly stupid. Because in the middle of the night, he wakes up to the sound of bare feet creeping across the floor right next to him, walking on their tiptoes. And this man is lying there frozen, eyes wide open, listening to his paralyzed father walk around the room. The old man's face twists into something that shouldn't exist on a living person. And I personally need to sleep with the lights on tonight. Because his father is standing over him staring down while he pretends to be asleep, and this might be the most terrifying scene in this entire series. Next morning, the old man is back in bed like nothing happened, and the son is standing there processing the worst night of his entire life. The doctor says he figured whatever it was would just go away on its own, which is the medical equivalent of ignoring the check engine light. But instead, the old man randomly dropped dead that afternoon, no warning, no explanation. He put his body in the mortuary and it straight up vanished. Gone. Empty slab. The morgue attendant walks in and asks where is he, like someone misplaced a grocery bag. And the doctor telling this story right now looks like his soul left his body retelling it. He was told not to spread rumors, but after the old man disappeared, patients started dropping dead one after another with no medical explanation. And every single one of them had the exact same symptoms as the old man before they died. Same pattern, same impossible recovery, same vanishing act. Now they've arrived at the morgue door and the doctor pulls out a key with ghost energy practically leaking out of the keyhole. Oh, and the cherry on top? The morgue's caretaker also died, so the doctor has to open it himself. This place has a body count higher than its patient survival rate. Cold air pours out as the door opens, and the doctor asks Jiang Chen if he's coming inside. But Jiang Chen snaps back, saying, yeah, go inside. How am I supposed to get in when you're blocking the doorway? The priorities on this man. They both step inside and neither one says a word because the temperature just nosedived. The doctor turns around to remind him to close the door so the cold air doesn't escape, and Jiang Chen slams that door shut so hard the doctor nearly jumps out of his scrubs. Then this psychopath reaches for the lock and clicks it shut. He just sealed them both inside a morgue. The doctor's face says everything his mouth can't. He just realized he might have made a terrible mistake bringing this stranger down here. Meanwhile, the system is roasting the doctor because surprise, surprise, he's not actually a doctor. He's a low-level corpse ghost wondering why the door just got locked. Ghost Chi +3. The ghost spins around and Jiang Chen is already right behind him with glowing red eyes like a final boss. And this dead man nearly dies a second time from shock. System notification saying the ghost's rear end feels chilly. Ghost Chi +15. This fool is farming fear like it's a renewable resource. Jiang Chen goes, it's rare to find someone so willingly giving off ghost energy, and asks to see the corpses like a kid asking for the dessert menu. He's almost touched by the hospitality. They walk deeper into the morgue, and there they are. Rows and rows of covered bodies on gurneys stretching into the darkness. But Jiang Chen looks around completely unimpressed, saying they're all lying here neatly and he doesn't see any corpses disappearing. The ghost doctor freezes and whispers, could it be that they all came back? Which is not a sentence you ever want to hear in a room full of dead bodies. Jiang Chen's eyes sharpen instantly at those words. And this absolute unit gets hyped, screaming that none of them should even think about running away this time, slamming his fist down while Ghost Chi +6 rolls in. Wait, hold on, because Ghost Chi notifications start stacking like combo multipliers, +3, +2, +5 all at once, and something in this room is very afraid. A massive corpse ghost rips out from under a sheet, screaming about its face and cursing at him, and this thing is horrifying in the most pathetic way possible. It tries to insult him by cursing his uncle, and Jiang Chen just laughs, saying he's an orphan. He doesn't have an uncle. The emotional damage was supposed to go the other way, and this ghost is losing its mind, pointing at him screaming, because what kind of human locks himself in a morgue and starts trash-talking the dead? Jiang Chen just clicks his tongue in annoyance, and rocks this ghost right in its bloated face, telling it he already said he's an orphan. Are you stupid? Ghost Chi +8 from the impact alone. The ghost is reeling, drooling everywhere, barely comprehending that a living person just threw hands with a supernatural entity and won the exchange. Jiang Chen stands over it going, we're all ghosts here, what's there to be afraid of? And the ghost whimpers back that it took his bed, so doesn't it deserve a beating? These two are having a domestic dispute in a morgue. And Jiang Chen leans in and asks the real question, how many days have you been dead? Ghost says 4, and that number is about to matter a lot. The ghost starts counting on its fingers trying to do math, and honestly this might be the saddest supernatural entity I've ever watched. Jiang Chen's expression shifts to genuine concern, which is never a good sign coming from a guy who smiles at haunted hospitals. He grabs the ghost and tells it people normally stay dead for 7 days before returning, but you came back after 4, which means something went wrong with your corpse. The system is going haywire because this ghost is continuously terrified. Ghost key +4 stacking over and over like a broken slot machine hitting jackpot. And the ghost's face right now is pure existential dread, which is impressive considering it's already dead. It starts crying going, "Master, I'm already a corpse. What other problems could I possibly have?" And honestly, it raises a fair point. But Jiang Chen drops the knowledge. Returning on the 7th day is natural law, and by coming back early this ghost just messed up its entire afterlife paperwork. He transforms into full golden enlightened guru mode, explaining that coming back early ruins your family's fortune and your own shot at reincarnation. This ghost is cooked in ways it didn't even know were possible. The ghost is shaking, asking Master, "How do I fix this?" And it just called the guy who punched it in the face Master. Stockholm Syndrome speedrun. Jiang Chen grins and says it's actually pretty simple. You just have to die again and come back on the right day this time. He says it while his ghost chi racks up +9 and +4, because the ghost is generating fear like a power plant. Is this the most unethical scam in Manhwa history? Strong contender. And that's when the light bulb finally goes off in this ghost's smooth brain. It screams that Jiang Chen tricked it into coming here just to kill it. Too late, because Jiang Chen already has his weapon drawn, that green gem blade humming with energy and ready to collect. And he swings with the coldest one-liner of the season, "Then let me send you to meet my uncle." This orphan just weaponized his own tragic backstory, and I have never respected a con artist more. And the system confirms it. The corpse ghost is officially dead again with ghost chi +9 deposited right into the account. But this fool isn't even satisfied because he's standing over the remains talking about how that was barely any ghost chi. The ghost's head bounces across the floor like a deflated basketball, and Jiang Chen doesn't flinch. He just casually wonders if the black vengeful harmed anyone and then mutters that it was way too easy to kill, like he's reviewing a disappointing meal. And there's another ghost cowering behind an umbrella like that's gonna protect it from a guy who just sent its buddy to the shadow realm. This ghost's face is pure unfiltered terror, and honestly I'd make that same expression if Jiang Chen was walking toward me with a glowing blade. Jiang Chen smiles and goes, "Interesting. It was jumping around before the 7th day of mourning." Then asks if there's another one hiding somewhere like he's shopping for souls. He walks up to one of the sheet-covered gurneys, saying there's another one who pretended to be dead in advance. And this horrifying green ghoul explodes out screaming right here like it thinks a jump scare is going to work on this maniac. Jiang Chen's responds to a supernatural ambush, slapping it in the face telling it to wake up and take its medicine. The system pops off because this ghost was literally napping and got woken up by a home invasion. Ghost chi +8 from pure annoyance. The ghost is screaming, "What do you want from me?" and getting right in Jiang Chen's face, which is brave for something that's about to get recycled. And this absolute menace tells the ghost it should take sleeping pills and go to bed. The ghost is asking why he woke it up just to tell it to sleep, and honestly the logic is breaking my brain too. The ghost is full on screaming, "Where are the pills?" because apparently the threat of violence has convinced it that medication is the way to go. Jiang Chen grabs this thing by the throat with eyes glowing red and a grin that says the pills were never part of the plan. The blade goes straight through its skull, and all it can manage is a weak little gasp because the lights are already going out. He apologizes for forgetting the pills and asks if it minds a more physical method to help it sleep. This is the most polite murder in Manhwa history. Another corpse goes down, another ghost chi +9 collected like loyalty points at a coffee shop. Meanwhile, that guy from before is peeking out from behind a gurney whispering about how another one just got killed, and honestly his survival instincts are the only functional ones in this building. But Jiang Chen spots him immediately, calls him a big rat, and tells him to stop pretending because it's time to get serious. The son's face freezes, and every drop of sweat on this dude's forehead is screaming that he's been caught. And now the mask comes off because this guy grins and admits he wanted to finish Jiang Chen off while he was relaxed but clearly miscalculated. Keep your eye on this one because he transforms into a full-blown nightmare creature with bulging eyes and a face that belongs in a sewer. He rallies all the remaining corpses asking if they're gonna sit there and get chopped one by one, or if they want to rush this fool together. And they answer. An entire army of glowing-eyed corpse ghosts rises from the darkness, groaning like the world's worst choir practice. They're crying about how they just want to keep living and what's wrong with that, which would be sympathetic if they weren't eating people to do it. Jiang Chen hits them with the coldest reality check, surviving by eating people. Are you even worthy of that? That sets them off because now they're all screaming they'll kill him. And the debate portion of this encounter is officially over. One of them lunges and the blade catches it mid-charge, splitting the difference between brave and stupid. Jiang Chen stands in the aftermath saying he'll clean them all up, but there's no need to use the demon transformation card for this. But then they all charge at once, a wall of dead bodies with glowing eyes rushing him from every direction. So he grins, showing actual fangs now, and decides fine, if they want to mob up then he'll use the demon power inherited from the transformation card. He opens his mouth and unleashes a tiger's roar that makes the whole morgue vibrate like a speaker at max volume. The shockwave slams into the ghost horde and they're getting ragdolled like laundry in a hurricane. But the ghosts are just standing there confused, asking why their ears are buzzing, which means the attack barely scratched them. Wait, Jiang Chen looks just as confused, going nothing happened? Turns out he inherited way too little demon power for it to actually work. So this fool just shrugs and decides physical destruction is still reliable, which means he's going in swinging with his bare hands, and he delivers on that promise because he's demolishing these corpses with his fists like a one-man wrecking crew running on pure spite. But then something different shows up, a massive beast-like ghost with green eyes the size of tennis balls and muscles that don't belong on anything dead. This thing is on a completely different tier because it catches the blade in its teeth and bites down like it's chewing on a breadstick. And now his weapon is locked between those two front teeth, which is both terrifying and deeply embarrassing for a supernatural weapon. The gem on the blade starts glowing like it took that personally, and something inside it is waking up. Jiang Chen screams that he never liked these things from the start and unleashes a massive energy wave that turns the entire room into a blender. And when the dust settles, he's standing alone, surrounded by shredded corpse parts scattered across the floor like a clearance sale at the ghost store. But it cost him because he's drenched in sweat and panting like he just ran a marathon through the underworld. Then the system drops the big notification. Ghost Chi has exceeded 1,000 points, unlocking 2-star demon transformation cards. This maniac immediately goes draw a 2-star demon transformation card with the excitement of a gambling addict who just found a casino in the afterlife. The gotcha slot machine appears, and the system warns it'll cost a substantial amount of Ghost Chi, which is the game's way of saying bend over. His jaw drops because it's 10 times more expensive than a 1-star card, and you can practically hear his savings screaming. But he pulls the lever anyway, demanding an amazing card because our boy has the financial discipline of a toddler with a credit card. Reels are spinning, and the first 2 slots lock in with ancient symbols while the tension builds. The final reel slows down and lands on a glowing red antler symbol, and something tells me this pull's going to be different. The entire machine erupts in golden light like it's congratulating him for gambling away his entire life savings on a single pull. And standing before him is the Deer Power Great Sage, an absolutely massive demon with antlers that scrape the ceiling and fire wrapping around its body. Even Jiang Chen can only manage a quiet wow. The system explains that activating the card gives him half an hour of demon power, 2 random abilities, and 1 body part transformation. This is basically cheat codes for ghost hunters. But it comes with fine print because the transformation drains resources fast, might end early, and he only permanently keeps 10% of the power. The system really said terms and conditions apply. He kicks the door open, stepping out of the morgue like a man who just cleaned his entire apartment and feels accomplished even though the apartment is full of ghost corpses. He's muttering about the 2 extraordinary abilities he got from the demon transformation while catching his breath. And he walks directly into the nurse, apologizing as their bodies collide in the hallway. His hand catches her, and for a second he's just holding onto this girl with a look of genuine surprise on his face. She stutters out a confused "you," while backing away, and this poor girl has no idea she just body-checked a serial ghost killer. But Jiang Chen's brain goes somewhere completely analytical because he notices she's ice-cold through her clothes, and even though she was running, there's not a trace of body heat. So what does this smooth operator do? He leans in and compliments her skin, saying even after 3 days of death, she's probably still paler than him. That is the most unhinged flirting technique on the planet. She immediately screams, "Who asked you?" and shoves him away, telling him to get lost, because apparently being told you look good for a corpse is not the compliment he thinks it is. An awkward silence falls as they both stand there, and she won't even look at him. The energy just shifted from morgue massacre to high school hallway. He clears his throat, trying to salvage the situation while she side-eyes him with an expression that says, "I will end you if you compliment my complexion again." Then she turns to him and asks if he knows about the taboo in their hospital, and just like that, the mood flips from cringe to creepy. Jiang Chen's eyes light up like a kid who just got offered free candy, asking her to elaborate because if there's supernatural lore, this clown wants every detail. She starts adjusting her collar nervously, and look, I'm just going to acknowledge that the artist put some effort into this nurse design because respectfully she is structured. But before she explains the taboo, someone approaches carrying a suspicious black bag, and we are officially entering territory that would not survive a police investigation. This bandaged surgeon walks up with patient files and ID badges dangling from his grip, and both Jiang Chen and the nurse just go quiet. All 3 of them step into the elevator, and the silence is so thick you could cut it with a scalpel, and I genuinely do not trust anyone in this metal box. Jiang Chen immediately throws his arm around the nurse, going, "Hey, sweetheart," like they're on a first date, and this girl's face is priceless. He gestures at the surgeon's black bag and asks the nurse what she thinks is inside, which is the least appropriate elevator small talk in history. She takes a guess and says maybe it's someone's insides, and she delivers this line with the casual energy of someone guessing what's for dinner. Jiang Chen immediately starts listing off options like a waiter reading specials. Heart, liver, spleen, stomach, while she begs him to stop. These 2 are having the most deranged conversation possible in a confined space with a stranger. The surgeon at the front of the elevator slowly turns around and says, "Hey," and that single word carries enough menace to freeze a room. He lifts the black bag and asks if they're all so curious about what's inside with a tone that says this is your last chance to shut up. His one visible eye stares directly at them through the bandages, and he warns them not to regret seeing it. He opens the bag slowly, and honestly, even I don't want to look inside, but we're all going to anyway. Even Jiang Chen gulps right now, which is the first time this lunatic has shown anything close to hesitation, and that scares me more than the bag does. Inside is a glass container with what looks like a preserved organ floating in liquid, and Jiang Chen reaches toward it because of course he does. He stares at the specimen and mutters about bite marks on it, and I need everyone to process that sentence very carefully. The surgeon adjusts his collar with those pristine white gloves, and the silence stretches out like a rubber band about to snap. Then this bandaged freak grins through the wrappings with blood caked around his mouth and says he was hungry and couldn't resist taking a bite. This hospital has officially lost its accreditation. Jiang Chen's face goes completely blank, and for one beautiful moment he's just as disturbed as any normal person would be. Then his brain does the most Jiang Chen thing possible and he asks how much a kidney is worth. The surgeon says 250,000 and immediately asks why he's asking. This con man starts doing actual math in his head with equations floating behind him. Says, well, you took a bite, so let's give you a discount. 200,000. He's haggling over stolen organs in an elevator with a cannibal ghost. The surgeon demands the bag back because he has finally realized something deeply wrong is happening to him instead of the other way around. Jiang Chen slaps on a makeshift mask and says since he's carrying 200,000 worth of merchandise, he'll reluctantly work some overtime. He turned a horror scenario into a side hustle. He snatches the containers screaming, give it to me, and sprints off with this ghost's stolen kidney like a shoplifter at a supernatural farmer's market. The system confirms the ghost is bewildered. Ghost Chi plus 25. Because apparently being robbed by a human breaks some kind of paranormal record. The elevator doors sit there in silence for a moment, like even the building is processing what just happened. Then they burst open with the surgeon exploding out at full speed, ready to collect what belongs to him. The nurse is asking what's going on, and the surgeon is wondering if that kid is actually a robber, which is technically accurate, but missing the larger picture entirely. The surgeon screams in absolute disbelief because a living human just pickpocketed a ghost, and that is a sentence that has never been spoken before today. He's raging about how Jiang Chen dares to rob ghost property and threatening that the kid doesn't want to live anymore, while the nurse watches in absolute confusion. And there's Jiang Chen halfway down the corridor waving his stolen goods behind him, yelling, come on, come catch me, like this is a playground chase and not a supernatural heist. He rounds the corner and launches some kind of spinning spiritual energy behind him to slow them down because even his escape moves are showboating. The surgeon and nurse slide around the corner screaming that he turned left and to chase him, and Jiang Chen has officially started a foot pursuit with two angry ghosts over a bitten kidney worth 200,000. Is this the most unhinged hustle in this entire manhwa? Strong contender. The surgeon and the nurse finally catch up, and Jiang Chen greets them with a beam of golden energy like he's returning a package at full speed. The blast clips the nurse and she recoils with green spiritual shards flying off her body. But Jiang Chen panics because whatever move he just tried won't activate again. The nurse laughs it off, saying her heart died a long time ago, so nothing he does can faze her. Then she charges at him screaming, go to hell you little thief, and honestly she has a point because he literally robbed her coworker. Jiang Chen catches the blow with his bare hand and golden energy erupts from his grip. And even the nurse freezes mid-attack because whatever just happened was not in the playbook. A massive pillar of green spiritual energy detonates between them and sends everything flying. Jiang Chen pulls himself off the floor clutching his ribs, asking if he broke one, and the answer is probably yes, you fool. The nurse is screaming at him, demanding to know what he's carrying on him because that blast was not human grade. That's when this moron looks down and realizes it was the talisman Lin Yue gave him to save his life. But the nurse's ghost hand is already reforming with toxic green energy wrapping around each finger. Her arm cracks and twists as she forces it back together through sheer rage alone. She tells him he blocked it once and dares him to try a second time, which is the energy of someone about to collect a debt with interest. And she moves so fast that Jiang Chen barely registers it before the impact is already on him. His feet scramble on the tile because he knows if he doesn't dodge the next one, he's finished. The nurse blurs past him so close he can feel her ghostly breath on the back of his neck. Her claw rips straight through his jacket and tears into his chest. Then the surgeon pops up behind him grinning with blood caked on his face, saying they've been playing dead for half a day just for this exact moment. Both of them hit him at once with something called accelerated heart kill, and green energy spirals through his entire body. Jiang Chen's eyes roll back as the ghostly energy floods into his chest like it's trying to restart his organs in the wrong order. He crashes face first into the floor and skids across it like a rag doll tossed by a moving truck. But this absolute psychopath wipes the blood off his face and goes impressive. You're going all out? Blood is dripping from his mouth and his face is carved up, but he's still standing because apparently his body didn't get the memo that it should be dead. The nurse leans over him asking if his heart feels like it's about to give out and suggests he might have the same illness as her. Jiang Chen can literally feel his heart being squeezed by an invisible fist, and the exhaustion is hitting him all at once. Because that's exactly what's happening. A ghostly hand is physically gripping his beating heart and wringing it like a wet towel. Now the nurse pulls out a syringe, telling him not to worry because Big Sister will give him a little injection and make everything better. She lunges at him with that needle, telling him to be a good boy and hold still, which is genuinely the most terrifying bedside manner in medical history. But Jiang Chen reaches into his pocket and pulls out the Demon King transformation card because he knows he's dead without it. He screams transform Demon King, and a golden armored figure erupts behind him like this fool just activated a gacha ultimate. His eyes shift to an inhuman green with red lightning crackling across his face, and his hair explodes into a wild crimson mane like he just went Super Saiyan except demonic, and honestly the glow up is unreal. The system announces he randomly drew the heavenly sword of the Demon King, which sounds way too overpowered for a hospital fight. A blade of pure fire materializes in his hands and the entire hallway turns into an oven. The nurse nurse's eye goes wide because she just realized the prey turned into the predator and the predator brought a flaming sword. He carves through her with a single swing, and the fire follows the blade like it's alive, eating everything it touches. Then Demon King Jiang Chen glances over at the surgeon and casually goes, "Oh right, there's one more." The system pops off with the doctor regrets everything and wants to be a good person. Ghost Chi plus 90, because nothing inspires moral clarity like a flaming demon walking toward you. The surgeon is pressed flat against the wall, whispering to himself, "Is this guy even human?" And brother, no, he is not right now. Demon King Jiang Chen finds him instantly and goes, "So this is where you were hiding," with the surgeon screaming in pure disbelief. Then this maniac reaches out with that grin and says, "Come here, let me wipe your mouth for you." The surgeon lets out a scream so loud it could wake ghosts that are already awake, and that bloodied face is the portrait of regret. He whips a scalpel at Jiang Chen, screaming, "Don't come any closer," which is like throwing a pebble at a forest fire. The blade bounces clean off his face, and Jiang Chen asks if this fool is made of iron because that tickled at best. He touches his nose where the scalpel hit and laughs, saying it was a bit itchy, which is the most disrespectful flex in this entire series. Now here's where it gets genuinely terrifying, because Jiang Chen asks the surgeon if he can still run and then demands to know why he hasn't started yet. And the surgeon takes the hint immediately, screaming as he bolts down the hallway with Jiang Chen's red hair filling the frame behind him. He scrambles up the stairwell screaming for help, and I cannot stress enough that a ghost is crying for help from a human right now. Jiang Chen watches him flee, noting that the surgeon clearly knows he's about to die, yet he's running upstairs screaming for backup. Then his eyes narrow and he says the final boss is finally coming, which means this idiot just gave away the location of something much worse. Jiang Chen follows up the stairs with fire trailing from his feet like the floor is just fuel at this point. Every step leaves a burning footprint, and the stairwell is turning into an incinerator behind him. The surgeon peeks down from above, and his face has the expression of someone who just realized they led the wolf to the sheep instead of away from it. Ghost Chi is raining down, plus 90, plus 85, plus 95, while the surgeon sobs about how he should never have provoked this lunatic. Demon King Jiang Chen builds fire between his palms, and the look on his face says he's done playing tag. A fireball condenses in his hand, glowing white-hot at the center. He flicks it forward with a single word, and the fireball connects with the surgeon like a meteorite hitting a paper bag. The surgeon flees down the corridor screaming "Go away," while Ghost Chi plus 10 stacks up like a combo counter that will not stop climbing. He finally collapses in a corner with his body on fire and his dignity in ashes. Ghost Chi still trickling in at plus 1 because even crying earns points. But Jiang Chen notices the Demon King power is draining fast and mutters that he's about to run out of juice. He walks up to the surgeon and hits him with the most patronizing line possible, saying, "Weren't you supposed to heal people, so why the long face now?" The surgeon screams impossible through a waterfall of tears, and honestly this ghost has been reduced to an emotional wreck by a college-age conman. Jiang Chen grins and asks, "Don't believe me?" Then he sets himself ablaze and says, "Look, isn't this what death looks like?" And he's using his own body as a demonstration, like a supernatural TED Talk. The fire erupts through the entire floor and swallows the surgeon whole in a pillar of flame that punches through the ceiling. And as the surgeon fades away, he whispers, "Finally, I'm free," which somehow makes me feel things about a cannibal ghost doctor, and I was not prepared for that. Jiang Chen looks at what's left of him and mutters that he was smiling even after being split apart, calls him a pervert, and I genuinely cannot tell who's worse here. He admits he used too much power, and that the Demon King form is tougher to control than he thought, which is what happens when you borrow a god's credit card. The system drops Ghost Chi plus 360 for that single kill, and that number is obscene. But this fool frowns because it costs over 300 just to kill one ghost now, and the math is not mathing in his favor. So he pulls up the system dashboard and taps to check his total score. Ghost Chi total, 630, which sounds nice until you realize a single Demon King transformation eats through that like rent money on payday. He starts regretting that he killed the nurse too quickly earlier because dragging it out would have farmed way more points. And then we get a flashback of the nurse ghost licking his face, while Jiang Chen wonders if teasing her more would have earned better returns, which is the most deranged cost-benefit analysis ever performed. But something pulls his attention, a feeling creeping up his spine that wasn't there a second ago. A voice whispers, "Come here," and Jiang Chen's expression shifts because whatever is calling him is not something he went looking for. His feet start moving on their own toward the source. He's sweating, asking himself why he desperately wants to follow this voice even though every survival instinct is screaming at him to stop. And whatever is waiting for him at the end of that pull just opened its mouth, and those teeth do not belong to anything that wants to have a conversation. Jiang Chen grits his teeth and calls out "Miasma Demon Wings," and the activation rips through the air like a furnace door cracking open. But this fool is panting already, because the Demon King transformation is bleeding him dry faster than he can spend it. Then he spots the source of that voice and goes, "My dear, is it you calling me?" Except the thing doing the calling isn't after Jiang Chen at all, because apparently ordinary people can't resist this bewitching melody. And the old man is sleepwalking toward whatever is calling him like a moth heading straight for the bug zapper, while the words "come here, come on" spiral around him. The voice pulls this poor old man all the way up to the rooftop like a fish on a line that never had a chance. Jiang Chen follows him up and tries calling out to him, but then he frowns and mutters, "Why did I only attract a troublesome old man?" which tells me his bait caught the wrong fish entirely. And whatever was waiting up here takes one look at the old man and says it doesn't even have an appetite looking at him. So it just grabs this old man and screams "die" like he's a disappointing appetizer that needs to be sent back to the kitchen permanently. Jiang Chen's eyes go wide because the old man is about to get deleted right in front of him. So this maniac launches himself forward wreathed in fire, screaming about how dare you commit murder right in front of me. But he's too late because patient 18 already launched the old man off the rooftop like a basketball. Jiang Chen doesn't even hesitate, just screams then you can die too and unloads everything. Fire meets flesh and both of them are rocketing through the air like two missiles that decided to settle a personal grudge mid-flight. Jiang Chen is pushing it and you can see it on his face because sweat is pouring and the fire is burning through his reserves like they're nothing. But then he grabs patient 18 with green energy and grins saying you finally arrived like he was expecting this thing the whole time. And this freak starts whispering about fear being the most delicious flavor, which is the kind of villain monologue that makes you want to lock every door in your house. Jiang Chen's confidence wavers for the first time because whatever is smiling at him from the shadows has teeth that belong in a horror movie, not a hospital. Patient 18 towers over him radiating dark energy and says, since you're so resilient, let's play a bit more. And this is no longer a fight. This is a predator finding a new chew toy. So Jiang Chen pulls out the big guns and calls Heavenly Sword of the Demon King. Second stage, Seal of Darkness, activate. And the rooftop turns into a supernova of black fire and crimson light that could probably be seen from 3 zip codes away. He bursts through the inferno grinning and asks, are you scared or not, because this clown is genuinely taunting something 3 times his size. And the answer is yes. Patient 18 is absolutely terrified because his face looks like a melting candle that just realized it's sitting in an oven. This ghost is literally falling apart screaming while dark energy carves through him like a chainsaw through wet cardboard. The system goes patient 18 in excruciating pain, ghost chi plus 99, and Jiang Chen just discovered the most profitable torture method in gaming history. Patient 18's body starts stitching itself back together, and he screams that he just recovered, which means this freak has a built-in respawn mechanic. Patient 18 cries and wails, another ghost chi plus 99, and at this point Jiang Chen accidentally invented an infinite money glitch, because every time this ghost regenerates, Jiang Chen just cooks him again, and the points keep rolling in like a slot machine that refuses to stop paying out. Shattered into pieces, ghost chi plus 99. This ghost is literally a walking ATM, and Jiang Chen is making withdrawal after withdrawal. The entire rooftop is swallowed in a pillar of fire so massive it looks like the hospital grew a volcano overnight. But patient 18 is still alive, clutching his face and whimpering that his head is splitting apart, and somehow this thing just will not stay dead. He screams, don't think you can kill me this way, and his entire face rips open like something inside is trying to escape. And honestly, I did not need to see that, because what comes out is a monstrous claw the size of a car door, and those are not human fingernails. His entire body is bulking up into something covered in spikes and horns like the game just loaded in the Phase 2 boss model. Patient 18 just went from hospital reject to raid boss, and that roar shook the entire building with the number 18 still branded on his back like a receipt. Jiang Chen hits him with the sword and then freezes because sword strikes have zero effect on this thing now. And the monster just opens its mouth and screams back at him like it's personally offended by the attempt. So this absolute lunatic mutters, let's try a different method, while dodging claws that could carve a building in half. The monster whips something massive at him from behind, and this thing has the audacity to brag that it secretly grew a tail while laughing about it like a kid showing off a new toy at recess. Jiang Chen dodges midair, trading fire for claws in what might be the most uneven weight class in combat sports history. They clash head-on, and Jiang Chen is trading blows with something that weighs roughly the same as a small truck. Fist meets claw, and neither of them is giving an inch, but Jiang Chen is clearly the one losing the tonnage advantage here. Then this maniac gets a spark in his eye and yells, hey, try this move, like he's been saving a party trick for exactly this moment. Miasma Demon Wings Annihilation Wave, and the fire coming off of him right now could probably melt the concept of temperature itself. The wave hits patient 18 so hard that every spike on his body cracks at the same time, and the beast actually staggers backward for the first time. Jiang Chen checks, and the beast hasn't regenerated, so this moron grins and says, too bad I can only use it once, which is the worst time to announce a cooldown. Because patient 18 just wrapped him in flesh and muscle like a Venus flytrap and tells him to stay still and die obediently. And Jiang Chen's face drops because he forgot this thing could absorb him, and now he's stuck inside a living meat prison. His consciousness is fading and he's screaming at himself to hang on, but the edges of his vision are already going dark. So with his last shred of awareness, he ditches the sword entirely and yells, Heavenly Sword of the Demon King. Transform the sword into a fist, and that fist lands so hard the impact shakes the frame, and whatever happens next is going to decide whether Jiang Chen walks away or gets digested.